song to go a little longer. I had just started eating a piece of fruit. Praise the Lord in Jesus' name. How's everybody doing today? Blessed. Hey, y'all still alive, man. I was talking last night to Nashan, and we was reading something. I don't know what we was reading, but I'm like, shoot, you could die tonight. Could have died last night. And then I was like, cause that's what happened to my cousin. Like my cousin, he about 2 years older than me, probably about 6, 7 years ago. Went to sleep, didn't wake up. So you have to live every day as if tomorrow might not ever come. And you got to get your mind. Like I like that Psalm chapter 1 we read earlier, how he said, "Blessed is the man who meditate on the law of the Lord day and night, for he should be like a tree planted by the rivers of water." Like when you really go look at a tree planted by the rivers of water, man, like he good. Like that tree don't have to worry about nothing. And that's the same thing that we could be if that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna meditate on the word day and night. And you ain't gotta, it's funny, my youngest daughter told me the other day, she said, "Baby, Daddy, you read your Bible every day." I'm like, "I sure do." And it's crazy too because, I a lot of times I'm reading it every day out of necessity, but it doesn't really matter, why you doing it. But and I didn't really realize it until she kind of said it. The goal is to try to read every day, but you don't have to. I don't want to put this out here in the wrong way, but meditating don't mean you're reading. You can. My whole trip here, I didn't read my trip from Philly, 2.5 hours I think it took me today. I didn't read anything, but I was meditating the whole ride up on the Lord and thinking, and the scriptures was in my head, and just the whole. Really, I'm thinking about the children's lesson, and I'm thinking about last night's lesson, and today, I'm saying you don't necessarily have to read the Bible to have the disclaimer that you're meditating day and night, but still in all though, you need to have your mind focused on Jesus. All your stories, all your, everything need to come back some kind of way to the Lord. And it can. And that's how you want to choose to live your life, just in case tomorrow never comes. Because it's just not promised like that, Anyway, so we are approaching the feast seasons. The Feast of Trumpets is what? Next Sabbath, right? Next Sabbath. Praise the Lord. Y'all ready for that? Here? Who on the schedule? Y'all know? Chris is? Okay, I can see that. I make the schedule and don't even know half the time what it is. Yeah, I can definitely see why I brought Chris up here for y'all first feast here. I hope everything goes great. It will. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got the back nice and clean. I appreciate it. I know I hollered at Brother Dennis a couple weeks ago. He told me don't worry about it. I say, cool. Y'all got it. So I'm sure y'all going to be able to do that. Everything, it's beautiful here. And it's good to see us here. And we are here to learn about the Lord. That is the first and most important thing that we come here every week for. We come because we have been commanded to have a holy convocation, but ultimately we're supposed to be learning something. Now, the Bible is to be learned, like I say, line upon line and precept upon precept. So you piecing it together and you puzzling it together. And quite often what happens, especially when you have the gift of the Holy Ghost, when the Spirit of God is with you, quite often what happens is you'll take a lesson today and it'll finally make sense what you heard 2-3 years ago. Because you piecing it and it's gradually all coming together so that you have a great understanding of the Bible, period. It does not come day 1, day 10, year 10, year 20. I know this week, I'm going to share with y'all this week. So I have been thinking something about the Bible and Romans, something that Paul wrote a certain way from the first day I come into the Word. But then this week, the Lord had somebody show me. So that means over 20 years I've been thinking a certain way about something. And the Lord nah, it's deeper than what you think. It's more to it. And when he opened that up, he opened up even more. So the point that I'm trying to say is, as we continue to grow in the Word of God, it is just that. You're going to continue to learn, to elevate, if that's what you want, so that ultimately you can accomplish your goal of enduring to the end. That is the objective, is to make it to the end. Now, today's lesson, Revelation of Jesus Christ, seals and the trumpets. So I taught this last week. with a different title, and I'm going to shorten it from last week. 'Cause I'm gonna tell you right now, last week we went 4 hours for real. Yeah, we did. Well, maybe 3.5. Let's just say 4 because I think I have Nashawn start the stream up pretty early. But regardless, though, we're not gonna do it quite like we did it last week. But I wanted you to still have the scriptures. This is like the prelude to understanding the trumpets when we get there. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna start in Matthew chapter 24. The title of today's lesson: the revelation of Jesus Christ, seals and trumpets. And they've made movies. I remember I seen a movie with I don't know, maybe Demi Moore or something. I don't know. It was an old movie called The Seventh Seal. Man, these folks don't know what they're talking about. Like, they try with the movies, and I love movies. You know, I love watching the thought process of men play out how they can. So movies intrigue me from all types of genres, you know, especially when they try to deal with end time stuff. I remember the first time I seen The Serpent in the Rainbow, I was like, huh? And we always try to understand how this stuff goes back to Revelation. And really, the world is afraid of the book of Revelation. They don't understand it. They don't want to see it. And the reason they don't want to see it is because a lot of times people understand that if they see it, they are now accountable. And so a lot of people know that. They're like, hey, I'd rather not see it. But it's a book that when I was coming up as a kid, they told us to kind of stay away from. You need help to get that. Well, today, brothers and sisters, we're going to get into Revelation, and we pretty much going to dig into the first half of the book of Revelation. There shouldn't be a book in the Bible that you can't comprehend. I mean, maybe Philemon. I don't know, anybody read Philemon before? It's like, what, like 20 verses of just like salutation or something? I don't know. I'm like, dang, Paul, why you put that in here? But whatever. I guess it was evidence that he went to Philemon, you know? But at any rate, though, it shouldn't be a book in the Bible that you aren't familiar with and that you don't know what's going on. And here is the place that you get the opportunity to learn that. We cover our feast days year after year so that it is engraved in your mind what it is. Furthermore, we do lessons like we're going to do today to where we're going to get into a lot of detail. And what's beautiful about it is I chose not to bring any outside material. So that means that I have to stay inside the challenge of making this as simple as possible without grabbing all kind of outside sources. Because really, you don't have to have outside sources to understand the Bible. So anyway, so we're talking about the revelation of Jesus Christ, but we're going to, in the revelation of Jesus Christ is end time prophecy. So what we're going to do is start this actually in Matthew 24, because this is the best place to understand what's going to happen in the end as the Lord is approaching. Somebody asked me today, we was talking earlier about the Lord coming back in the year 2000, and I was like, nah, I knew better. Because I knew at that time already that, hey, we got to wait on the Great Tribulation. That hadn't even came. You know, a lot of people teach that the Great Tribulation, in theory with the rapture, is, people leaving the planet while the Lord is constructing his damage on this earth. We're going to understand today that that is very far from the truth. There is no one to ever leave this planet. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started. We got a lot of scriptures to read, but this should be a fun one. So let's start this off in Matthew chapter 24, and we're going to start reading in verse 1 through 8. And when you get there, my brother, go ahead and read.
And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the building of the temple.
Yes.
And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another, there shall not be thrown down. And
all right, that's good. So look, we're going to use the board a lot today. This is going to make life easier for us to see things. So the first thing I want us to put up here is we're going to put the temple. So there were 3 temples built. That's why this class took so long last week. I was all on the board. There are 2 temples built. We can find the first temple in the Book of Kings, built by Solomon. And we're looking at temples here. And it's the reason why we need this information up here. So this was done by King Solomon. The second temple, this temple here was done by King Solomon. And then once the children of Israel went into Babylonian captivity, it fell. So this fell at Babylon. All right, we're just gonna put at the base. All right, now the second temple, Jesus' day. So we're gonna put Matthew. It's gonna put that up there. And the second temple was actually done by, let's just say Ezra, Nehemiah. We're gonna put Ezra in there because you can find in the book of Ezra where they started making this second temple and where they built the temple. King Artaxerxes was the king, one of the kings that had them build this temple, and Cyrus and Darius, different people like that, right? So this temple lasted till 70 AD. So it went from the book of Ezra to 70 AD. The Bible, just so you know, covers to about, hypothetically, let's say, I know we can look it up and get them more accurate, but we're going to say the Bible covers to about 50 AD. So, like the writings of Acts, that takes you to Paul's latter day. Jesus died around Jesus died at 33. That was around somewhere between 27 and 30 AD. All right? So, the writings that you see in the Bible come years later. Like we see Paul even talk for 14 years. Like it came years later. What you getting is letters. And when you read in the book of Acts, you see everywhere Paul is going. And then you see him writing a letter to it. The last place Paul ended up, did anybody know the last place Paul ended up? Rome. When you look at when you look at Acts chapter 28, you see the last place that Paul was in Rome. But then you see the very next book is the book of Romans. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, bang. That's not in chronological order. Then you see Romans, you see Corinthians, you see Thessalonians, Timothy. That's a letter written to a person. So all this stuff was written around, let's just say 70 to 60 AD, including the book of Revelation. All right? So now, about 10 to 15 years later, after the book of Revelation, this temple that we're reading about is going to be destroyed. Then there's going to be a third temple. And that's going to be done by Edomites at the end. All right? We'll understand at the end a little later. Okay? Absolutely. That's why I say we'll understand the end a little later. But yes, they are building that now. So you got 3 temples, and right now, we own the first temple. And this is why the class is going to take so long. Because I'm going to stay over there. But look, though, 2 things. One, it's going to be recorded. So you can get up and go if you need to, if it's that bad for you. Number 2, I don't mind if you fall asleep. Just don't be snoring in front of me because I will throw a marker at you. Right. But number 3, I'm going to try to keep us engaged enough to where we can keep up. It's going to move. We're going to deal with all the trumpets, all the seals, how they work together. So again, we're in Matthew chapter 24, and he started off, and I'm going to let you catch up, bro. But he started off, and Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to show him the building of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there should not be left one stone upon another that should not be thrown down. So in this particular temple number 2, he's telling you it's not going to be one stone that's not going to be thrown down. Go ahead, read verse 3.
And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?
So they come to him, and Matthew is writing about 3 questions. There's a reason why I'm saying Matthew wrote about 3 questions, because you find this same passage for Mark and for Luke, and you have to be careful of what's being asked and what's being answered. You always have to be careful. You have to pay attention when you read the Bible. So he says here, they was at the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came to him privately, saying, tell us, what should these things be, and what should be the sign of thy coming? So when is this temple going to be destroyed? What is the sign to show that you're coming and the end of the world? Now, some people get into the Strong's Concordance and things like that, and they like to say, oh, the end of the world means an end of an age. It doesn't really matter. We talking about when the end of the world going to be, the end of this age, however, whatever you talking about. What we going to read about, it ain't all good. Meaning it's going to run you from Jesus all the way to the end. So regardless of what you want to call it, this is what it is. Go ahead, keep reading, bro.
And Jesus answered and said unto them,
Yes, sir. What he said?
Take heed that no man deceive you.
Rule number 1, he say, as we approach to the end of the world, don't let anybody deceive you. You have to go in here and get the Bible for yourself. It's okay if you walk in here and do not agree with us. You know, it was a brother here the last time I came. I don't know if he's going to show up today. I don't know if he's been back lately, but he didn't agree with practically anything well, I don't know about practically anything, but there was a lot that he didn't agree with. Guess what? That's okay. It is perfectly fine. That man is on his search of salvation. Everybody is on search of salvation, and it is up to you to be able to answer for yourself to God. Don't let nobody deceive you. Me and this brother ain't finna be holding hands like I'm his attorney at Judgment Day. Because I'm be looking at him like, oh, you in line too, huh, bro? You can go before me. That's what I'm telling you. Now, I'm trying to get in the back of this line. Maybe the first to be last and the last to be first. How about that? Yes, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, the point I'm getting at is you can't let nobody deceive you. You have got to go into this book and find it yourself. Now, remember how we read earlier, well, y'all might not remember, but everybody is just in their own cause. You be careful. Your neighbor come search you out. So you use that to like bounce off somebody to make sure that you ain't just going super far left. But you need to be, the one thing I hate, when I first started teaching, I was teaching at the House of Jacob in Detroit. And I remember teaching the people, we was doing Bible study or whatever, and then we get to class, and the people from Chicago was coming in from the House of Jacob, right? And so it's Q&A time, and somebody raises their hand and says, yeah, Brother Danny, that's the House of Jacob teacher, Brother Jediah said, now I'm standing probably like right there to the roster, and I'm sitting there like, just pissed. Like, because I've been teaching y'all, it ain't about what Jediah said, it's about what you read. Right, exactly. Like, don't say what brother. Now, it wasn't that I said something wrong. I'm sure, and I mean, I'm sure that they quoted me right. There was no issue with that. But my issue was, it don't matter what Brother Jediah said, and that's what you got to understand. Brother Jediah could be deceiving you. Now what? You walking around here, Brother Jediah? You gonna take Brother Jediah's word to the Lord? Yes, sir. I'm gonna take his own words back to him. Right. Lord, you said. I ain't care what Brother Bowie said or Brother Danny or all what you said. So again, as the end approaches, you have to make sure that you're not letting nobody deceive you. And deception is easier and easier now. People doing less, well, I can't say doing less study, but people are out here deceiving for more and more reasons. But anyway, this is all things that's going to happen before the Lord returns. Go ahead.
Verse 5.
Yes, sir.
For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ.
Yes.
And shall deceive many.
So now it's going to be a lot of people coming, and they're going to be, either way you look at it, they're going to be saying Jesus is the Christ, or they might even be calling themselves the Christ. It don't really matter when you read it, because at the end of the day, they're going to be out here. There's going to be deceivers. And you have to, it's just like going back to the year 2000 thing. It was deceivers out here. They was lying to us, making it seem like, hey, the Lord can come back now, or this is finna be the end of the world and all that. You know what I'm saying? And so me standing where I was standing, I'm like, oh, no. I didn't even pay no attention. Y'all tripping, man. The world ain't finna end. We got a whole lot more left to do based off of what this is saying. So he said, for many should come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Go ahead.
And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars.
Yes.
See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
Man, I remember when I was growing up, the last war that existed was the Vietnam War. Like when I was growing up, let's say 1982. So Vietnam was over with. The war that was on record for us was Vietnam. Now, later on, I learned there had been some more scrimmages up in Northern Africa and in Israel. But the biggest war that I had heard of at that time was the Vietnam War. So, what was that? That was let's say mid-80s when I peeped that out. Then we get what's called, meantime, I didn't know nothing about no Cold War. The Cold War was Russia. And I'm bringing Russia's name into this because they're going to be a player in the end. Really, it wasn't even Russia, excuse me. It was the Soviet Union. Now, and the reason I'm saying Soviet Union, especially for us that's going to continue to study this path of things, is even to this day, the Soviet Union still matters. Here's what the Soviet Union is. It's Russia, it's the Ukraine, it's Yugoslavia. I mean, I would really need a map. But everything that sits above Jerusalem and above the Middle East, going back over towards Asia. So it's Northern Asia, okay? That would be the Soviet Union. When I was coming up, the Soviet Union was at a Cold War with the United States. One of my favorite movies from during that time era was Rocky IV, because Rocky went over there and beat the Russians. Yeah, there you go. You know what I'm saying? Beat the Soviets. It wasn't even the Russians then. Beat the Soviets, okay? Well, after that war, all the wars that you've been bearing witness for since then, it's still a piece of this Cold War. It's still the two world powers, Soviet Union and her allies, which would be China, which would be North Korea too, by the way, and then Europe and her allies, which would be ally number one, the United States. So when you see us battling out, we fighting for Europe. So it's just like the war that's going on right now, the Ukraine. I've been studying about it a little bit. And what I've learned is, you know, the main reason why the Russians are trying to fight the Ukrainians? Because they're the same people. And not only are they the same people, but the Ukraine was a part of the Soviet Union. Not only was Ukraine a part of the Soviet Union, but when Hitler and Napoleon, so now we're going back more and more in history to more wars. 1800s is Napoleon, 1900s is Hitler. From France and Germany, they ran up into Russia through the Ukraine. That is the only place you can run up into Russia at. Everywhere else, you're going to get a problem. Well, what the Russians are saying is, nah, y'all ain't finna join NATO. See, the Ukraine wants to join NATO. NATO is Europe. And they're like, nah, we're not about to let y'all sit no base right here and think that y'all can just run up into Russia. Like, no. And by the way, if you try running up into Russia, good luck with that. Everybody who's done that has been very unsuccessful. Like, they might hurt Russia. Russia will burn down. Imagine if you pulled up in Washington, D.C. and the whole city was burnt to a crisp. Russia will do you like that. And call it a victory and be like, oh, we heading back up to the mountains. Come see us over here. So, because they could care less about rebuilding. That's all they're going to do with it. That's a socialist place. But at any rate, I say all that to say, I just ran you down a few years, and I'm just showing you how it's wars and rumors of wars. These are the things that have to happen before the Lord returns. We're going to have more scrimmages. North Korea not done. But anyway, keep reading.
For nation shall rise against nation.
Now I remember when India got nuclear weapons. I'm like, what the heck India doing with nuclear weapons? And please don't fight us, because it's a bunch of them. Person for person, that's going to be a major problem. That's the beauty of what God is setting up. Because what God is setting up is he's setting up to meet in Armageddon, and we're going to talk about this today. He's setting up where Russia and the East are going to fight against the West. This is going to be the ultimate world war. Who is America? Oh, we with the West. We were in Europe, period. They built us. We French, we Greek, we English, that's what we speak. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we Spanish, we Gentile all day. That's what this country is. But we not Russian. Russians come over here, they do not, when the Russians come, they do not change their language. Trust me, I know, because I worked with them before. I couldn't understand nothing. Nothing at all, just no rushy. That's what I understood. Meaning, don't rush the job. That's all I can understand. Like, they not coming over here to convert to Europe, to become westernized is what they would call it. Because that's what Europe is and that's what America is. So anyway, he say, for nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There should be famine and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. So like how we saw that pandemic just come through. That was a worldwide pandemic. First time I bear witness of it in my life. But that wasn't the first time it ever happened. We didn't have worldwide pandemics before. But what we finding out now is that we're going to get more and more to come, though. We're going to have famines, pestilence, all diseases, all this kind of stuff is going to happen before the Lord comes back. All right? Go ahead, verse 8.
All these are the beginning of sorrows.
But this ain't the end. Let's skip down to verse 10.
And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another.
Uh-huh.
And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many.
Go ahead.
And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold.
Go ahead.
But he that shall endure into the end, the same shall be saved.
Uh-huh. So you got to make it to the end in order for you to receive your salvation. To the end of your life with your mind, with a pure heart, like it says in Matthew chapter 5. or to the end of days, or the end of an age, or the end of this world. You got to make it there in order for you to be like, oh, I'm saved. A lot of people go to church, they be like, yeah, I got saved April 28th, 19, whatever. Saved from what? If I put a gun to your head and bang out your brains and you die, you saved? You sure? Or you getting up at judgment? Do you even know? You have to endure until the end, okay? What verse?
14.
Go ahead.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
Go ahead.
When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place.
Okay, so now this abomination of desolation that's going to stand in the holy place, this is your Antichrist. He's an abomination. When I think of abominations, I think of the abominable snowman. It was like, he was like against Christmas. You know what I'm saying? So as a kid, he was the bad guy. So the abomination of desolation, when I think of desolate, I think of like desolate. Like I think of a desert with nothing or something. You know what I'm saying? So he is what they call the abomination of desolation. They saying he's going to stand in the holy place. The holy place is Jerusalem, where the temples are. That's the only place that the Bible tells you you can face Jerusalem and pray. Not face South Africa, not face Moscow, not face Washington, D.C. or Hollywood. He's saying face Jerusalem, not facing the east, not facing the sun, but face Jerusalem, and he'll hear your prayer. That's the holy place. And when you see this anti-man stand there, then, and we're going to learn more about him, then we need to do what? Let's pick it up in verse 21.
For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time.
Right, so that's what we're going to comprehend today. We're going to see this Antichrist, or this abomination of desolation. We're going to just put AOD, Antichrist. And then it says, right after that, we're going to go right to the tribulation. All right? Go ahead, keep reading.
I'm going to read 21 again.
Yes,
For then
sir.
shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this
And
time.
he's saying this is the worst tribulation ever. This is worse than the Spanish Inquisition. This is worse than what happened in the days of Hitler when they killed off the fake Jews. This is the worst. This is worse than Hotel, what's the movie, Rwanda. It's worse than anything like that. You know what I'm saying? This is going to be the worst time on the planet. Go ahead.
And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved.
And he's telling you something. He like, look, if the Lord don't put a stop to what man is doing on this earth, everybody going to be done killed themselves. Go ahead.
But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not.
So now, during this great tribulation period, and we're going to learn that no, there is not a rapture, but the Lord does have a place of safety for the children of Israel. And it's going to be in the desert. And if somebody say to you, go to the desert, but look, what we're going to find out is once we get to this place of safety, ain't no coming and going into this place of safety. Plus, Christ ain't going to be in the desert. So he going to be in the sky, what we going to find out today. So I say all that to say that they're going to tell you after the Great Tribulation, people going to be looking for messiahs. That's what they're going to be looking for saviors. And Christ ain't going to be here yet. This is the sign, the visual, like a stop sign. Like you got to see a stop sign. This is not a stop sign. This is the sign of the coming of Jesus Christ. So you're going to see it. So when they tell you, yo, he in a, what did he say? For wherefore, what did he say? Oh, verse 24, right? And then for there shall arise false Christ. Oh, no, where am I?
We didn't read it yet. We left off at 23.
24, he is here, or lo, he is there. Don't believe him, because we're going to see it. That's what he's telling you here. Go ahead, keep reading.
For there shall arise false Christ and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect.
So he's telling you something. He was like, look, man, they're going to have skills enough to even fool some of us. But, go ahead.
Behold, I have told you before.
But he already warning us. So instead of you being fooled, now you can say, hey, guess what? That's not really Christ. Go ahead, keep reading.
Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, Go not forth.
Yes.
Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not.
Go ahead.
For as the lightning cometh out of the east,
Everybody can see lightning coming out the sky, right? Otherwise, if you don't see lightning, then it ain't lightning. So you gonna see lightning. It's gonna light up the sky. A lot of it is some pitch black, and all of a sudden everything was pitch white. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, that was so amazing. So he's saying, just like you see lightning, go ahead.
for as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Then he gonna throw something else out there. Go ahead.
For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together.
So what he's telling you is, by the time we get to the end, it's gonna be dead bodies, and we're gonna see that today. By the time we get to the actual last day for this late great planet Earth, we're going to see dead bodies. And he said the eagles will come in and clean it up. Don't worry about it. Go ahead, keep reading.
Immediately after the tribulation
So we went from the abomination of desolation to the tribulation, and then immediately after the tribulation, go ahead.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven.
Yes.
And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet,
Yeah.
and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
Now, I'm going to put this trumpet up here, too, just because we're going to see that some more today, too. So, but at the coming of the Lord, at the final, so we had the abomination of desolation, the great tribulation, worst time ever, and then the coming of the Lord. We're going to put time, we're going to see how long this was, all that. We're going to see the events that take place inside this space right here. This is what today's class is about. It's about covering the abomination of desolation, the great tribulation, and the coming of the Lord, and how this all going to happen. Okay? So, what we didn't see was a rapture. We didn't see nobody leaving this place. And this would have been the chapter to find that. We saw, he talking about the destruction of a temple. What's the sign of your coming? From the destruction of a temple to the sign of your coming, people went nowhere. We stayed on the earth. It said that it was going to be a great tribulation. On top of all of that, it said it was going to be worse than ever before. And that if he didn't shorten the time, it would kill even the very elect. The purpose of the rapture is to protect the elect. But the Lord is saying something different from that. There is no rapture, brothers and sisters. That does not exist in the book of Revelation. Let's go ahead and move to Revelation chapter 1 now. Revelation chapter 1. And we're going to pick this up at verse 1. We're going to move through chapter 1. We're going to move through 1 through 6. Like when I say we're going to move through it, or 1 through 5, we're going to move through it kind of quick. Because what we're going to do is introduce this book here. Because this is where we're going to be studying from mainly for today. All right? The revelation of Jesus Christ. And when you get there, go ahead, take off.
The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must surely come to pass.
Yes.
And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John.
Go ahead.
Who bear record of the word of God and of the testimony of Jesus Christ and of all things that he saw.
So this whole thing, this is Jesus Christ's revelation. So it's Jesus' revelation. And it came from God, the Father. All right. Now, does anybody know what Isaac tell you? Revelation, he's telling you it's like he revealing something. He's going to reveal his plan. So it started out with God to Jesus. Then he said, read verse 1 and 2 again.
The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John.
So it's Jesus Christ's revelation that God gave him. He's sending it by an angel to man. Now what man gonna do is send it out to the church. He had 7 churches that it was spoken of, and that's what man gonna do. Man gonna spread the book of Revelation to 7 churches. On top of all of that, he got a message for all these churches, but we'll get there. So, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave it to him He said they bear record. To bear record is what we're doing right now. We're all bearing record that today's lesson is about the book of Revelation. We all on the same page, one accord. All right? Then it says, verse 3, go ahead.
Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of his prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein. For the time is at hand.
Now he's going to tell you who he's actually writing the book of Revelation to. Go ahead.
John to the 7 churches which are in Asia.
So he's writing to the 7 churches which are in Asia. Brothers and sisters, I don't want you to think Asia like China and Korea. And Asia was different then. Asia was really the Mediterranean area. That's what it was. So when you start talking about it with the Mediterranean, he's basically writing the letter to the people in the region. It ain't that far. It ain't like they had to go way over 7,000 miles to get this letter out somewhere. All right? Go ahead. Keep reading.
Grace be unto you,
Yup.
and peace from which is, and which was, and which is to come, and from the 7 spirits which are before his throne, and from Jesus Christ, who is the faithful witness, and the first begotten of the dead, and the prince of the kings of the earth, unto him that loved us, and washed us from our sins in his own blood.
Man, that's cold. So he just summed up what Jesus did. Really. But go ahead, keep reading. Verse 6.
And hath made us kings and priests unto God and his Father. To him be glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him.
Go ahead.
Even so, amen.
Yes, sir.
I am Alpha and Omega,
This who talking. Just Jesus. He the Alpha and the Omega. Go ahead.
the beginning and the ending,
Yep.
saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty.
All right, that's good. So again, who was just talking right there at verse 8?
Jesus.
Jesus. So Jesus was physically talking in verse 8? Dang. All of what we're going to see in Revelation is coming from the angel. Remember, this is the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave to him, which he sent to John through the angel. So even though it's written in red, and yes, those are still the words of God written in red, the angel is delivering the whole message. Okay? Now, let's skip over to verse, read verse 9.
I, John, who also am your brother and companion in tribulation and in the kingdom and patience of Jesus Christ, was in the isle that is called Patmos for the word of God and for the testimony of Jesus Christ.
What else?
I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day.
Stop. When it say he was in the Spirit, have anybody in here ever been in the Spirit? Does anybody even have, and I'm going to say yeah. See, let's not get confused what you reading to what you think. I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day. You could be in the Spirit because it was in his mind. Like a dream, a vision. I was in the Spirit. A spirit is a reality that's not, right? Meaning it exists, but it doesn't. I give an example. Your words, they spirit. They exist, right?
Yeah.
But you don't see them. You see those angels, they exist, but you don't see them. So he was saying I was on the Spirit on the. Now let's talk about being in the Spirit on the Lord's day. Dreams. Are dreams real? No, not really. But like you said, yes, they are, because you had them, you saw them, they're a reality. But guess what though? They're not a reality. It was in the Spirit. It was all in your mind. You're the only one that experienced your dream. So yes, they're real, but no, they're not real. Things can happen in your dream. I believe I can fly in my dreams. You see what I'm saying? Can't fly in real life though. So what I'm getting at by telling you this is when he said he was in the Spirit on the Lord's day. When you read the book of Revelation, you have to think about it as if you were dreaming or as if it was a vision and not a real-time set of events. Here's what I mean by that. So when we read Revelation chapter 4 and we see John looking at 24 elders sitting around the throne, that's a vision. Ain't no 24 elders sitting around the throne today, because that means they would have received the promise before anybody else had. And the scripture teaches against that. This is a vision. there's purposes and points to the vision that's being given in this revelation. Y'all copy that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So because we're gonna see all type of stuff. You're gonna see dragons. Like the dragon ain't really a dragon, it's the devil. Go ahead, sis.
Would that be the same as when the book says pray in spirit and in truth? Is that
Well, when you praying in spirit, you can say you praying in your mind, but the reality is spirit has multi levels. For example, words we speak are spirit. The breath of life, that's spirit. Your thoughts, that's spirit. So yes, you can pray in spirit and in truth, or worship in spirit and in truth. And really, I would take worshiping in spirit and truth is worshiping like how you say with your whole mind, body, and soul in truth, though. In truth, not in a falsehood. That's how I would take worship in spirit and in truth. But in this case, when he say he was in the spirit, it's more like saying he there on the island, Patmos, and he probably the only person that's going to be able to see whatever the heck he about to see. Kind of like a daydream type gig. Okay? That's more what he got going on. What verse did we stop
Verse
at?
10.
All right, so he said, I was in the spirit on the Lord's day and heard behind me a great voice as a trumpet. So it really was what he heard behind him. So we're not saying nothing is happening, just like in your dream. When you tell me your dream, you're going to tell me your dream like this stuff, and you ain't lying. You're going to be like, yeah, I jumped off the first building, and when I hit the ground shook, and I jumped back up. Like that stuff was real, even though that don't never happen in real life.
Is he saying that he is in the spirit on the Sabbath day?
That same question came up last week.
Or is he in the spirit
No.
on the day of the Lord?
Neither. And when I say neither, he's saying he's in the spirit on the Lord's day. All of this is the Lord's day. Everything that he's going to see about the future events. You have to understand this is 2,000 years ago. So when he's talking about the Lord's day, he's not talking about one day. He's talking about the end. Like, kind of like this show day. You know what I'm saying? Like when we say like this your day, like, you know, you might have had a great game. That was your day. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the Lord's day, the end, just period. Not one particular day, not 1,000-year time period. He just said you're at the end now, the Lord's day. Okay. So good question. It came up last week too. So I guess I should have expected. That's probably why it was 4 hours last week. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't want to lose anybody, so I opened up the floor for questions as we was going. It works fine, you know what I mean? I just repeat the question online so they can hear it. So it's cool. But I just say all that to say that it don't have to be that long. But I don't mind as long as y'all don't mind. So anyway, what verse were we at?
We're on verse 11.
All right. I am Alpha and Omega. Okay, yeah, read that. Mm-hmm.
I'll do 10 again. I was in the spirit on the Lord's day and heard behind me a great voice as a trumpet saying,
Yeah.
I am Alpha and Omega,
Right.
the first and the last.
Yes.
And what thou seest, write in a book, and send it unto the seven churches.
See, pay attention to how he's talking to him. What you see, write it in the book, because this is a vision. So and then he's telling them, send it to the churches. So the whole book of Revelation is written to these 7 churches. Go ahead, keep reading.
Which are in Asia,
Yep.
unto Ephesus,
Ephesus. Yep.
and unto
Smyrna,
Smyrna, and unto Pergamos,
Yep.
and unto
Thyatira. Yep.
and unto Sardis,
Uh-huh.
and unto Philadelphia,
Yep. Shout out to Philly. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. and unto
Laodicea.
Laodicea.
Don't worry. The only reason I know the word so well is because somebody put it in a song. So that allowed me to hear it and repeat it enough times to know it. So these were the churches that he's going to write this vision out of everything he saw. These 7 churches. Now remember it said the gospel must be preached in the ear for a witness. It's going to be dependent upon these 7 churches to get this book of Revelation out. It ain't even a book to them. It's the writing from John whenever they get it. And it ain't even completed like this. Here's what I mean by that. So when we go into, let's jump first to 17 and then we'll stay on course. 17 through 19. Go ahead.
And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, Fear not, I am the first and the last.
So he's talking to the Lord. Now, again, this is still a vision. But it's just like if you was dreaming, like if God came to you, it's all good. It's not like that's not what it is. But the reality is he is in a vision. And that's the way we're going to leave it. Meaning, like, I don't want to take away from the power of God and his vision, nor do I want to add to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we could do both and mess it up. We just going to leave it where it is, to where in this vision, he's dealing with, because it's still the angel, remember, that's giving it to him. But he's saying in this vision, it was like, when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead, and he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, fear not, I am the first and the last. Go ahead.
I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore. Amen. And have the keys of hell and of death.
So he introducing it. He like, man, I control this. I'm the one that's going to open up the lake of fire. I'm the one that make alive. I kill. You might want to. He's introducing himself like you might want to listen to what I got to say. Go ahead.
Write the things which thou hast seen,
Yeah.
and the things which are, and the things which shall be hereafter.
Right, so he's saying write what you see and write what is and what you're going to see hereafter. All right, that's what the purpose of Revelation is. It's showing you what is and what is to come. All right, what verse are we at?
Chapter 2.
All right, chapter 2. Let's pick up the verse 1. We're going to look at a little bit of what he wrote to the churches. So the first church that was written to was, go ahead.
Ephesus, right?
Uh-huh. Verse 1. Yeah.
Unto the angel of the church of Ephesus,
So
right?
that's the same one that Paul wrote Ephesians to.
Yes, sir.
So Paul had been to Ephesians, and now we see John wrote that Ephesians a letter. They had a church there. What the letter say? Go ahead.
These things saith he that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand.
That's Jesus. So it's the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave it to him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass, right? So that's Jesus who's holding the 7 stars in his right hand, walk in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks, right? Go ahead.
I know thy works,
Yes, sir.
and thy labor, and thy patience, and how thou canst not bear them which are evil, and thou hast tried them which say they are apostles, and are not, and hast found them liars, and hast borne, and hast patience, and for my name's sake hast labored, and hast not fainted.
Let's skip over to verse 7. You can look at what the message was. Really, he told them to get their act together. He told each church something to do. But let's read verse 7.
He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches.
So you see that, it's he that hath an ear. It started off unto the angel of the church of Ephesus. By the end, he called himself the Spirit. He said, he that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. What's that? Go ahead.
To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God.
Uh-huh. All right, let's read verse 8. We're going to jump around a little bit, but let's read 8.
And unto the angel of the church of Smyrna write,
Yeah.
These things saith the first and the last, which was dead and is alive.
Let's skip to 11.
He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches.
Let's jump over to verse 18.
And unto the angel of the church in Thyatira write, These things saith the Son of God, who hath his eyes like unto a flame of fire, and his feet are like fine brass.
I like how each time when he introduces himself to the church, it's like with a different introduction, and but he's showing you who he is, though. He's revealing himself to each one of these churches. We are blessed enough to have it all packaged together so we can see the 7 things that he calling himself. But each church, when he wrote the letter, they just got one. Just like at chapter 3, it was like unto the angel of the church of Sardis, right? These things said, he that have the 7 spirits of God. Or in verse 7, and to the angel of the church of Philadelphia. So he's writing to each one of these churches the rest of the book. So when you get to chapter 3 and 22, just read that one verse.
Chapter 2.
Chapter 3 and 22.
He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches.
So that's what all that was. It was all what the Spirit was saying to the churches, what the angel was saying to the churches. or what the Son was saying to the churches, or most importantly, what God the Father was delivering to the churches. It's the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave to him to send it to his servant John. And he sent it by the hands of an angel. And we just bore witness of who John was delivering these letters to. He's going to deliver the rest of the book of Revelation to these 7 churches. So here's how the letter or the writing would start. So you might get like chapter 3, verse 14, and to the angel of the church of the Laodiceans, right? These things saith the Amen, the faithful and true witness, the beginning of the creation of God. I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. I would that thou wert cold or hot. So then, because thou art lukewarm, neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of thy mouth, of my mouth. Because thou sayest, I am rich. So he's talking to this particular church. Now, chapter 4, verse 1, because here's the actual beginning of the messages to the churches. So the thing, or here's the beginning of the revelation of Jesus Christ here. So technically, chapter 1, 2, and 3 is not the revelation of Jesus Christ. Unless you want to say, well, he was revealing himself, saying, he's the I am and all that. Cool, we can have that. But what we're saying is, when Revelations was handed to one of the church in Philadelphia, all of chapter 1, 2, and 3 wasn't in there. So we starting off verse 4 and 1. Go ahead. Or we really would probably start off like if it was Philadelphia, chapter 3, 7 through 13. Then we would jump over to chapter 4. So we would almost have to assume he might have wrote this letter out 7 times. Doesn't really matter. Probably had a scribe, maybe a couple of them. Go ahead. Revelation 4 and 1.
After this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. And immediately I was in the spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne.
Okay, so he said, after this I looked, and behold, a door was open in heaven. And the first voice which I heard was as it were a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither. So like, he hearing somebody say, come up here. And then he said, I will show thee things which must be hereafter. So like I said, put yourself in a dream. Not somebody like, come up here with me. So I don't know how you got there. You just did. Then he said, and immediately, because that's what he said, and immediately I was in the spirit. He's letting you know, like, this ain't real. Like, immediately I was in the spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven and sat on the throne. And the reason he got to say it like this is because if I'm sitting there at the church of Philadelphia, I'm like, you was where? When?
Right.
You saw who? Because you about to start talking about seeing God. Like, nobody has seen God at any time. So how is you pulling that off? That's why he's like, yo, I was in the spirit. Like, hey, you can call it a dream, whatever you want to call it, but I'm telling you what I saw. Go ahead, keep reading.
Verse 2 again.
Yes.
And immediately I was in the spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald. And round about the throne were 24 seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold.
Right, so understand what we got going right here. This ain't real. It is real. I'm going to keep telling you this ain't real because what I'm saying is, at the moment that John is seeing this, there you go. It's not like he's really looking past the body of waters all the way up to heaven and it's open and bang, 24 elders sitting there. It's a vision. And the point is to get to points. Like to get you to see things how it need to be seen. You know what I mean? Like it's the point is to reveal what Christ is doing. That's really the point. So here he like, yeah, we got the throne up here. Then he's like, and round about the throne, verse 4, were 24 seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. And out of the throne proceed lightnings and thunders and voices, and there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. So like this is what he's seeing. He's describing all of it. And before the throne there was a sea of glass like crystal. Like, and we're not saying the throne don't look like this. It very well may. I don't know. what we're saying is this was all for him so that he can get to what he needs to get to. Chapter 5. Chapter 5, pick it up at verse 1. When you get there, go ahead.
And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the backside.
All right, so he's still looking up into the heavens. We just, chapter 4 walked you right into chapter 5. Like, if you looked at chapter 4, verse 8, he said, and the four beasts had each of them 6 wings, talking about some angels that he saw. They were full of eyes. They were saying, holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come. And when those beasts give glory and honor and thanks to him that sat on the throne, who lived forever and ever. And the 24 elders fell down before him that sat on the throne and worshiped him that liveth forever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive the glory and honor and power. So this was, we still at the same place. Now, going into chapter 5, and I saw the right hand of him that sat on the throne. A book was written within, and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals. So now we about to start. Like, the first thing that Revelation did was introduce or open up what is about to be done. Now what's going on is he got the he about to show you the seals. All right, go ahead.
And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, Who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof? And no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof.
So he's saying, look, Jesus can open up these seals. Go ahead.
And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of saints.
All right, and then they're going to say with a loud voice, I'm jumping to 12, Worthy is the Lamb that was slain to receive power and riches of wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing, and every creature which is in heaven and on the earth and under the earth, blah, blah, that. And then verse 14, and the 4 beasts said, Amen, and the 24 elders fell and worshiped him that liveth forever. So now we into chapter 6. So basically, chapter 1 is the introduction to Revelation, telling you who doing what, why, when, where, right? Chapter 2 and 3 is the introduction to both churches, all 7 churches that are about to receive the revelation of Jesus Christ. Chapter 4 and 5 shows us how we're going to get the revelation from the throne, meaning that they showed you the throne and they was like, who's worthy to open up the seals? Nobody was really worthy but Jesus Christ. So now we're in chapter 6. Revelation has 22 chapters in it, and we have basically covered about a fourth to a third of the book of Revelation already. You understand what I'm saying? Like meaning that by the time we're done today, you pretty much gonna have a pretty decent grasp of everything that's written in Revelation, but definitely covering from the abomination of desolation to the coming of the Lord. Definitely covering all of that, which would be the trumpets and the seals. Okay? And we're about to see these seals being revealed now. So let's start this off. Revelation chapter 6 and pick it up in verse 1 and 2.
And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the 4 beasts saying, Come and see.
Right.
And I saw, and behold, a white horse.
Yeah.
And he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him. And he went forth conquering and to conquer.
Hold your spot. All right, so one of the things that I learned in doing all of this is that a lot of times we look at the Bible because 1 come before 2 and 2 come before 3, right? This is what we like to call sequential order, right? It's in order. So we a lot of times like to look at everything right next to it as if it's in order too. As if number 1 happened, and number 2 happened, and number 3 happened, and number 4 happened. Here's the thing though. We're about to read the seals that's about to be revealed. The first seal, read chapter 1 and 2 again. I mean verse 1 and 2 again, sorry.
Chapter 1 and 2.
Verse 1 and 2.
Verse 1 and
I'm
2.
sorry. Revelation chapter
Gotcha.
6, verse 1 and 2. Alright.
Oh, chapter 6, 1 and 2.
Uh-huh.
And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard it, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the 4 beasts saying, Come and see.
Yeah.
And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer.
Alright, so we see a bow and a crown. Kings wear crowns.
Right.
And it said that he went out to conquer and to conquering. This is not time that we're looking at. We're being introduced to an individual here. That's it. That's all we got so far for the seals. So we just wrote on the board, seal number 1, bow and crown, and that this man gonna conquer. All right. And that's you can't. I mean, it ain't talking about a lion. It's talking about a person. Like he got a crown. We're talking about a person. But no time is there. It doesn't say anything about how long he was gonna conquer. None of that. All right. Now let's find out who he is before we get into more details. So let's go to Daniel chapter 11. Now, earlier we read where it said the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet. So that's why we can't do this without going to the book of Daniel. So we're gonna go to the book of Daniel and we're gonna look at verse 36 through 39. 36 through 39. We're going to check out the book of Daniel, 36 through 39. When you get there, go ahead and read.
And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall...
So notice how I introduced the king here. Now we're going to come back to this Daniel, and we're going to see, where this king come from. We're going to even learn more about this king. But I'm going to tell you right now that this king is that same conquering king, that same abomination of desolation. But don't worry, we're going to put it together a little more short. Go ahead.
And the king shall do according to his will.
Uh-huh.
And he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god.
So notice, this dude is going to magnify and exalt himself above God. So this ain't no good guy. It's a bad guy. Matter of fact, he already starting to sound like an abomination. You declaiming yourself to be above God, you sound desolate already. Go ahead.
And shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods.
Now it's saying that this guy is going to speak marvelous things against the God of God. So he's going to speak against the Creator. This person that we're reading about in Daniel chapter 11. Go ahead, keep reading.
And shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done.
Keep reading.
Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers.
So now that we read here, we're talking about a person and it's saying he's not going to regard the God of his fathers. What we're going to learn is that this is the Antichrist we're reading about. He's going to come from the Roman Catholic Church. He's going to be one of the popes. And he's going to be when the popes come in right now. They come in under the banner of Jesus, the Holy Father, the Holy Trinity. That's what all of them come under. This last dude, he ain't coming like that. He gonna come and say, I'm him. See, everybody else been given the honor to God, whether they was deceitful or not. But when this dude come on the scene, he's going to basically say, no, I'm God. So he's going to read that verse again. Tell us what verse we had and read it again.
37.
So we read 37. He's going to tell us how he's going to be. Go ahead.
Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women.
Right, he ain't going to want no woman. As we know, the popes don't get married. Go ahead.
Nor regard any God. For he shall magnify himself above all.
That's it?
No.
Oh,
38.
go
But
ahead.
in his estate shall he...
Oh, yeah. Yep, take it down. 38, 39. Go ahead.
But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces, and a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver, and with precious stones and pleasant things.
So he going to have the ability to bless his God and his people with the gold and silver. Go ahead.
Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory. And he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain.
Okay. So we seeing that this person here, he gonna be ruling over many. He gonna what it said, divide. He said that he should divide the land for gain. Now let's go back to Revelation. We're gonna learn some more. We're gonna go back to Revelation. So we took that first seal and we went over to Daniel 11 to find it. We took it to Daniel 11 and we found him. We just leave it there for now. All right, we found this conquering dude. Now we back in Revelation chapter 6, and just pick it up in verse 2.
And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer.
So he's the king, just like we read in Daniel chapter 11. Go ahead.
And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, Come and see.
Right.
And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth.
So now, seal number 2, peace is going to lead the earth. All right. Go ahead.
And that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword.
Uh-huh.
And when he had...
And to him is the conqueror. So it's showing us still that he is the architect of the elimination of peace on the earth. It's same dude who's going to conquer. Okay? Go ahead.
And when he had opened the third seal...
So now we at the third seal. Go ahead.
I heard the third beast say, Come and see.
Yeah.
And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand.
Yes.
And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny.
Uh-huh.
And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. And when he had opened the fourth seal...
So, seal number 3, he was like, he had the balances, and then he started saying a measure of wheat for a penny, so on and so forth. So now, we seeing control of the money. So, again, these seals so far, it's not about an order. It's about introducing a player and what he's going to do. The reality is, the seals are going to introduce this player here to this player here. And the seals are going to show us what's going to happen to us during that time period. So we're going to reuse Matthew 24 to break down Revelation today. Y'all following? All right, cool. All right, what verse are we at?
Verse 7.
Okay, go ahead.
And when he had opened the fourth seal,
Yep.
I heard the voice of the fourth beast say,
What it say?
Come and see.
Uh-huh.
And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death,
Yeah.
and hell followed with him.
Uh-huh.
And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth.
All right, that's good. So, now, what we got so far is this dude here is going to take peace from the earth. He's going to control the money. He's going to manage to make a fourth of people die. That's what he's going to do. That's what we done seen so far. It's not about time. It's just what he's going to do. Time wasn't revealed to us yet. Time will be in certain instances. But right now, I'm just showing you how we are in the revelation of Jesus Christ. And what's the first thing that they really revealing is the Antichrist and the counter. Don't worry, we're going to get to the counter. All right. Where did you stop?
Revelation
6 and...
Hold on to Daniel 11,
okay, so you stopped at verse 8?
verse 8.
All right, so let me see what we got going real quick. Revelation chapter 6 and 8. That should have been the fifth. That should have been the fourth seal, right?
Right.
All right, so let's go ahead to Daniel now. Back to Daniel 11. Remember, we found the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet. We have read later events about this guy because we was trying to identify him as king. Now, we could have read all of the book of Daniel 11 and we would have really been able to identify him as king. I just brought you to that part. You got to realize that my job is to set the foundation for you to be able to work with. You got to go read all of Daniel 11. You gotta go read all of Revelation, whatever you miss. You understand? For you to be able to make sure I ain't just feed you a bag of beans and that don't grow, right? You know. Yeah, we don't sat here. Yeah, I know, right? We got the bean stalk that's gonna take you to the giant here. Make sure I ain't sell you that. You know what I mean? So anyway, let's go back to Daniel chapter 11. Daniel chapter 11. And let's see, what time did we start today? So we've been doing this about an hour. We ain't gonna be too much longer than last week. I say that, but it don't really matter. Y'all don't come here, and I think about, well, I don't even know what Wick State no more, but I think about the fact that it's people that travel far to get here. You don't come to class to sit for 2 hours and be incomplete. You know what I mean? Like, I would like to be able to sometimes sit here and teach you longer than your drive time was. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's what we on today. So anyway, but we moving at a good pace though. Daniel chapter 11, and let's pick him up at verse 31. Daniel 11 and 31. When you get there, go ahead, pick it up from there.
An arm shall stand on his part.
Now arms is what we call our military. So this whole chapter, the abomination and desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, is talking about this king right here. So it's just saying that he's going to have a military or arms. So we're going to erase this one. We're going to erase that one spot, and we're going to put just something else we don't read about this. Oh, go ahead. No problem. Just this, though. We're just going to erase this right here. Yep, no problem. Take your time. All right. So we're going to erase this little part right here. This was just from Revelation 1 as it discussed how we got it. From God to Jesus to the angel. Then he sent it to his servant John. And we had recognized that when he sent it to his servant John, that John had to give it out to the 7 churches. And that's what that was right there. So now what we're seeing is this guy here, we in Daniel 11. So I'm going to put Daniel 11 right here just so we know. And then it said arms was going to stand on his part. Or military. Now we saw some more stuff about the guy, but I'm just putting that in there so that we can have an identifier. Like if you take a picture or something, you can have an identifier. Just like how these was the temples. This is the 3rd temple. We'll get back to that. These are the seals, and this is the whole scheme of it all. Okay, y'all good? Yeah. All right, cool. Anybody lost? Look, don't get lost. Meaning, we can stop and catch you back up as long as you say, I'm lost right now. You know what I'm saying? But if you wait till we like 8 chapters away and you talk about you lost, I'll be like, see me at the class. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be hard to catch you up. But, so anyway, you in Daniel 11 and 31, go ahead, read.
An arm shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice.
Notice what it just said. He's going to pollute the sanctuary. So a sanctuary is a temple, and this is where he gonna be at. We're gonna get that a little more later, but this is where he gonna be at. He gonna pollute this sanctuary of this last, because this one gone and this one gone. But remember, it said the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet when he stand in the holy place. This temple is in Jerusalem, which is a city, not a country. I heard they said name 3 countries to start with J. Yeah, I heard that somebody said Jerusalem. I said, Lord have mercy, that is not. They was close though. Y'all know what the 3rd one was? That was close. You know, Japan is one, Jamaica's one. Jordan. That's why I said it was close. So anyway, go ahead and read that verse again, and then we'll pick back up.
An arm shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate.
Like Daniel spoke of. Go ahead.
And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many.
Now, while we talking about this, it's saying, and they that understand among the people, they're going to instruct people. You know what I'm saying? So now it said, keep reading first.
And they that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword, and by flame, by captivity, and by spoil many days.
So now, based off of Daniel 11, We're gonna just throw him in here. That was 11 and what, 33?
Yes.
Right?
33,
Verse
yeah.
33?
Verse 33.
All right. So this is when the time period that he's actually talking about here, where it said that they was gonna be. What did it say again? Read that one more time.
And they that understand among the people
Yep.
shall instruct many,
Yep.
yet they shall fall by the sword,
Uh-huh.
and by flame, by captivity, and by spoil many days.
Right. They're gonna fall by sword and flame and
Bondage. captivity.
prison. Yeah. All that is gonna happen during this tribulation period from this Antichrist once he steps foot in this particular temple. This is all we done read so far. And this is the same Antichrist that's going to take people from the earth, control the money, and make sure that a fourth part of people are dead. This is what we revealed so far in Revelation chapter, from chapter 6. All right, what verse are we at in Daniel?
34.
Go ahead.
Now when they shall fall,
Yep.
they shall be holpen with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries.
Go ahead.
And some of them of understanding shall fall, to try them, and to purge, and to make them white, even to the time of the end.
Go ahead.
Because it is yet for a time appointed.
Now notice how I even said even to the time of the end. You got to remember, that's what this was all about. The coming of the Lord, or, the time of the end. That's what this is. End. You know what I'm saying? All of it is the Lord's day. Going back to that question. That's all we in the spirit on the Lord's day. That's where we at. All of it. Okay? Go ahead, what verse?
Verse 36.
Uh-huh.
And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god,
Yes.
and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done.
All right, that's good. Let's go to Psalm 110 now. Psalm 110, and we're going to read starting at verse 1. This is about Jesus too. And what I'm trying to show you is when we go back to Revelation 6, so we should be going to Revelation 6 after this, ain't we? Yep.
Right.
So when you go back to Revelation 6, I introduced to you the enemy of the Lord. That's what I introduced to you. Now, we're going to link it with this Psalm 110, and we're going to come back here, and we're going to find Jesus. Because what the seals are doing is showing you who's going to show up for the big day. That's the first thing that he is revealing, is who the bad guy is and who the good guy is. That's Revelation 6. All right? We're going to see that more clearly, though. I'm telling you, when we done, Revelation going to be smooth sailing, because it's not that difficult. They just lied to us because they don't want us to be in there. So anyway, Psalm 110, and let's pick it up at verse 1. When you get there, go ahead.
The Lord said unto my Lord, Sit thou at my right hand, until I make thine enemies thy footstool.
Yes, sir.
The Lord shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion. Rule thou in the midst of thine enemies.
So what did verse 1 mean? What verse 1 meant was, when Jesus left earth in Acts chapter 1, you read Acts chapter 1, the disciples was there, and they was like, yo, the same way he leaving, he coming back on the cloud. When he got there, he say, son, you sit here until I get the world ready for you, till I make your enemies your footstool. Now, what you have to understand is, this has already happened before. And what I mean by that is, God came to the earth and delivered a people from out of a land. Y'all, I don't know if you understand, but that's all the coming of the Lord is about. Like at the end of the day, what you're going to find out, that all the coming of the Lord is a replay of what happened in Egypt and what happened with the children of Israel coming up out of Egypt, and them getting into Goshen, them getting into Mount Sinai, getting the commandments, going to the wilderness, all of that. How it happened before is going to play similar again, but on a much larger scale. Now, Pharaoh didn't have no cannons, or AK-47s, nuclear bombs, airplanes. He had none of that. But what did happen to Pharaoh was, when they came up after Israel, they ran through that water. The Lord wiped them all out. The Lord is coming back to take the earth back. Ain't gonna be no secret. And what he's saying is, I'm the most powerful being ever. So he gonna let man climax. Oh, we climaxing. Look how quick we moved in 100 years. Y'all do realize 100 years ago, well, a little more now, about 120 years ago, wasn't no airplanes. None. But now I'm talking about in the first plane, they ran that plane to fly. You know, like the Flintstones. We push starting that bad boy. That's your first plane. Now look at us. We going out to the stars now. You know what I'm saying? We got space shuttles and pieces falling off and shooting other pieces out. We way high tech. Think about something. We get visions every day. We just look on the phone. You know what I'm saying? Imagine. So what I'm saying is the world is getting primed, is getting set for the return of the Lord. The Lord ain't coming back like no bully. He coming back like a boss, and he gonna whoop on the boss. Because you gonna be done showed you as a boss. Talking about that conqueror. That's what it said. It was like he gonna come and he gonna conquer. He gonna kill. Like he gave him all the respect due to him in the first 4 seals. Now, going back to Psalm 110, he said, the Lord said to my Lord, sit down on my right hand till I make thine enemies thy footstool. The Lord shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion and rule in the midst of thine enemies. That's what the Lord is going to do. He's going to come from Zion and he's going to end up ruling in the midst of his enemies. Verse 3.
Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power, in the beauties of holiness from the womb of the morning. Thou hast the dew of thy youth.
Man, the Lord's people is Israel. And he said, you have the dew of your youth. Because when he told him, sit down on my right hand till I make thy enemies thy footstool, Israel wasn't no superpower nation then. But when we was in the dew of our youth, we ran through everybody. We had people afraid, including the Egyptians when it's all said and done. So he was like, no, you're going to be like that again. Now let's jump down to verse 5. Yep.
The Lord at thy right hand shall strike through kings in the day of his wrath.
So he's saying in the day of his wrath, he going to strike through kings. The day of his wrath is what we're on now. When we look at this book of Revelation, this is the day of his wrath. Go ahead.
He shall judge among the heathen.
Yes.
He shall fill the places with the dead bodies.
When we saw, we saw in Matthew 24, where the eagles are and the carcass is going to be gathered, the carcass is going to, basically at the end of the day, he's coming back. It's saying in one place, it's going to be blood up to the horse's bridle from here to Philly. Actually, a little further than that. You know what I'm saying? In the horse's bridle, I keep saying it's about to here, but people keep trying to tell me that the horse's bridle is more like 6 feet, but it don't matter whether it's 6 feet or 4 feet. If you start talking about blood for 200 miles, 4 feet of blood for 200 miles, that's a lot of bodies. If y'all drain me of all my blood, it's just gonna create a puddle. It's not like we about to flood. We couldn't flood this room. We couldn't get this much blood on the floor. If we killed everybody in this room and drained all our blood, we couldn't get this much blood. We probably could just mop the floor with the blood and that'd cover it. You understand what I'm getting at? Meaning blood up to the horse's bridle, that's a lot of bodies. That's a lot of bloodshed. We already got on board a fourth of mankind gonna get killed at one point. We're gonna see more than that. So anyway, he says he should judge among the heathen. He should fill the places with dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries. Yo, that's a cold statement, man. Take that statement to NATO. Be like, yeah, when God coming back, he said he gonna beat the heads, he gonna wound the heads over many countries. Y'all gonna be in there like, what country you talking about? That's where they all meet up at. But anyway, go ahead.
He shall drink of the brook in the way, therefore shall he lift up the head.
All right, now let's go back to Revelation chapter 6 now. And we're going to start putting the other pieces together of the book of Revelation and what's being revealed to us. So right now, so far, from opening up the seals, we done found this Antichrist guy. That's what we done found so far. Now we about to open up the seals and see some more things. So when you get there, go ahead and read. Revelation 6. We should be at Revelation 6 and 9, right?
Right.
Yeah, we're moving all right. Come on.
And when he had opened the fifth seal,
Yeah.
I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God.
Remember, this a vision, y'all. There ain't nobody sitting under nobody's altar right now. The dead people know nothing. They in the grave. It's a vision, like a dream. So, seal number 5 say what again?
And when he had opened the fifth seal,
Yes.
I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God,
Yeah.
and for the testimony which they held.
Yeah.
And they cried out with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth?
All right, so seal number 5 is how long, oh Lord, will it be before you revenge us? That's seal number 5. The question and the answer is seal number 5. Not a piece of time, just a question and an answer. Because we're going to answer that question. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find out who's going to avenge the blood. Keep reading.
And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled.
So the question is how long? He said, wait a minute. Wait till everybody get killed. So everybody don't get killed. Because remember we was reading in the book of Daniel and it said that some people going to die basically. Everybody don't get killed to hear. So basically what he's saying is, how long is it going to be before you avenge our blood? By the time we get to the end, we got to wait till everybody get killed first. This is what he's telling them in number 5, vision number 5. Or seal number 5. Go ahead. What verse are we at?
Verse 12.
Go ahead.
And I beheld when he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood.
Keep reading.
And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, and she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne.
All right, so seal number 6, Jesus Christ. So what we have just done with our 6 or 7 seals is we have now introduced player number 1 for this abomination, Antichrist versus Jesus Christ, basically. Seeing what he gonna do. Question is asked, how long is it gonna be? We gotta wait to the end, basically. And we saw the adversary, or we saw the counter, Jesus Christ. So we got the Antichrist and Jesus Christ. That's what Revelation 6 is. It's that simple. All right. Now, where we at?
And do 16 again.
You said verse 16? Okay, go ahead.
And said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand?
All right, cool. Now, let's go to Revelation 12. That's next?
Yes.
Ooh. Yep, it is next. This is where it might get a little complicated, but don't worry. I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. But it might seem to get a little complicated here. You said we have Revelation 6, and we have Revelation 12, and let's pick it up at verse 1. Revelation 12 and 1.
And there appeared a great wonder in heaven.
All right, so now we gonna come back to this a little later. All right. The reason I said we're gonna come back to it is because we're gonna actually go to number 7, and then number 7 gonna take us to the trumpets. The lesson is the seals and the trumpets. So we're gonna get back to it absolutely. Now what we're doing though is filling in information that's gonna need to come in here somewhere so that we can understand everything that's gonna transpire. Before we can get to chapter 7, we need to establish that there is a great tribulation, it's a wilderness, how long, all this stuff needs to be established before we get into chapter 7, which is practically some of the same thing. And then we're going to go into 8, willing to start opening up the trumpets, okay? So, Revelation 12 and 1, when you get there, go ahead and read.
And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
All right, so we're going to look at what Revelation 7 is, what Revelation 12 is doing too. Revelation 12 is working quite similar to Revelation 6 in that it's going to introduce piece by piece in this chapter. So, first thing it did was it went to start it over.
And there appeared a great wonder in heaven.
Yeah. So
And-
he's seeing now a wonder in heaven. John is looking up to the heavens, he's seeing wonder. What's that wonder again?
A woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet,
Uh-huh.
and upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
All right, so let's find out who this woman is real quick. Let's go to Genesis 37. We're going to find out who this woman is. She relevant. We're going to introduce another player to all of this. And really, this woman is the church.
Yes.
This woman is Israel. Israel is the church. I just need to prove that to you real quick. So it said this woman had 12 stars and the sun and the moon, right? So we're going to go to Genesis 37 and we're going to look at a dream that Joseph had. And let's pick this dream up. Genesis 37 and let's pick up verse 5. Genesis 37 to 5. We're going to run it down to maybe like 12 or something. I don't know. But go ahead.
And Joseph dreamed a dream,
Yeah.
and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more.
Right?
And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For, behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and, lo, my sheaf arose,
Yeah.
and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaf stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us?
So they was, first of all, Joseph the baby. So he having this dream, and he's like his sheep raised up over them. So they understood it all. You about to be our boss? He the baby. They already don't like the boy. You know what I mean? He giving them more reason not to like him. But keep reading. But this was a prophecy about Egypt, though. But go ahead, keep reading.
And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words.
Uh-huh.
And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And, behold, the sun and the sun
So now
and the
he's
moon,
dreaming another dream. He said, I dreamed a dream more. He said, what did he say again?
the sun and the moon,
Sun and the moon,
and the 11 stars made obeisance to me.
and 11 stars bowed down. All right? So that's what happened. They bowed down. Now, watch the response from Pops. Go ahead.
Verse 10.
Yeah.
And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth?
So the dream was about the sun and the moon and 11 stars. And they said they was going to bow down. His response was, shall I and your mama and your 11 brothers bow down to you? Now, we're going to go back to Revelation chapter 12 now. And that's the thing about Revelation. If you don't have the key, you're going to be locked out. A lot of Revelation is going back, and we're going to go back like next week when Brother Chris get here. He's going to deal with some of this exact same stuff we're dealing with today. Maybe not quite as detailed because he ain't going to try to keep you as long. But we're going to deal with some of the same stuff, and you got to have the key like Daniel is the key. Especially when you start talking about Revelation chapter 13, which we'll look at in a little bit. When you start talking about the seven. Actually, when we look at this Revelation 12, we're going to see some stuff that really we're going to need Daniel 8 and 7 to show us. Because it's showing us about kingdoms and stuff. But we'll get there, like I say, this is about putting pieces together. I'm trying to make Revelation as simple as I can. All right, so go back to Revelation 12 and 1.
And there appeared a great wonder in heaven,
Yeah.
a woman clothed with the sun,
So
and,
here we go, that sun again, yep.
and the moon under her feet,
And the moon, what else?
and upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
Oh, wait a minute. It said 11 stars in Genesis. I thought you said this was representing, Israel or whatever. Where it's 11 stars plus Joseph, the dreamer. So that made 12. 12 stars. And this all represented Israel. All right? Or the church. I do it either way. All right? And this is the first thing that we're introducing in Revelation chapter 12, all right, is the church. Go ahead, keep reading. What verse?
And verse 2.
Yeah.
And she being with child cried, travailing in birth,
Yeah.
and pain to be delivered.
Yeah.
And there appeared another wonder.
Stop. So she had a child. All right. And that child, I'm just gonna tell you, is Christ. But we're gonna get there. Yep. We're gonna get to that. So in Revelation 12, this is the first thing. What was that verse? 1, 2, and 3, or just 1 and 2?
1 and 2.
All right, verse 1 and 2 of Revelation 12. I'll move right out your way. Give me one quick. Sorry, y'all. Tried to put it where it make it easier for people to walk by. I might have made it harder. Let's do it like this. Maybe that'll give people a little more room over there. All right. Okay. So, sorry about that, y'all. All right. So now we're gonna get to the other part of Revelations 3. So he looked up and he saw something else. Go ahead.
And there appeared another wonder in heaven.
Yep.
And behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads.
All right. So now we got the red dragon, and he had 7 horns, and he had 7 crowns. Right.
Right.
Go ahead. Keep reading.
And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven.
And he took a third of the stars. I'm just gonna cheat. Took a third of the angels with him. That's why I said I'm gonna cheat. And these 7 horns and 7 crowns, this red dragon, this all represent Satan. So far what we're doing in Revelation is we got Israel and we got Satan. That's what we've introduced in Revelation so far, chapter 12. Go ahead, what verse?
Verse 4. In the middle of verse 4. And did cast them to the earth, and the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born.
So this dragon came after this child when it was born. That's why Herod was trying to find Jesus when he was born. Because that's the spirit behind this dragon, was the spirit behind Herod. This is it's always been contention between this person and this person. All the way from the very beginning though, which is what this chapter gonna actually take you to. Keep reading though.
Verse 5.
Yeah.
And she brought forth a man child.
So now that we back in verse 5, it's going back because it introduced Satan, and now it's going back to the woman because that's who was introduced first. Y'all understand what I'm saying? It's like, I'm telling the story, I'm like, all right, here go the church, and what they gonna do? Okay, here go Satan, and he took a third of the angels with him. Okay, now did you read 4?
Yeah.
What was 4? Okay, good. All right, so now go ahead and go to 5. Yep.
And she brought forth a man child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron.
So this woman had that man child that was going to rule all nations, just like we saw in Psalm 110. He said, you're going to rule in the midst of your enemies. Go ahead, keep reading.
And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne.
Right? Psalm 110. Sit thou on my right hand till I make thy enemies thy footstool. So we could place that right here. If we doing that. I kind of am, I guess. Go ahead.
Verse 6.
Uh-huh.
And the woman fled into the wilderness.
Now, the woman had a man child, and now it's saying that the woman fled into the wilderness. Go ahead.
Where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days.
All right, so we get to verse 6, and it said that it was a wilderness prepared for this woman because the dragon came after this woman. It said it was a wilderness prepared for this woman for 1,060, which is 60, and what else did it say? 200 days or something?
1,203.
Yeah. Well, I know. Yeah.
2.5
So
years.
this is equal to
3.5
3.5 years, and we're gonna see more times, and then a dividing or half a time, and we will also see 42 months. These are gonna be things that we see that is going to. This is from verse 6. That are going to all parallel. All right. So this is actually, it said a place was prepared for the wilderness for a 3.5 year stretch. All right, we're gonna place that where it needs to go in a minute. What verse are you at now?
We're skipping to 13.
Yeah, we definitely not. Now, when you get to 7, 8, 9, because remember I was telling you The chapter introduced the two players, and it said that he had cast a third of the stars with him. Well, the actual chapter is going to get into that because they've been battling from day one. That's in the chapter. Now we're gonna pick it up after the chapter, or after that fight, where it started, and we're gonna jump to where again?
13.
Verse 13. When you get there, go ahead.
And when the dragon saw that he was cast onto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child.
So when the dragon, and the reason it cast the dragon to the earth now is because if we would have read all of it, we would have saw this war in heaven, and we would have saw Satan got kicked out of heaven, and he's on the earth. So it's kind of like it went back to the beginning, then it picked back up. So it's like, well, he got cast to the earth, and read that again.
And when the dragon saw that he was cast onto the earth,
Yeah.
he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child.
So the dragon started coming after the church, the woman who brought forth the man-child. Go ahead.
And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle,
Yeah.
that she might fly into the wilderness into her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time.
And just so you know, I got one of them big boy dictionaries, unabridged. And one of the things I did was actually look up time. Time got a lot of definitions, y'all. One of them, though, simple as a year. So a time is a year. Times is basically, time is equal to 1 times, with an S, equals 2. And then a half a time is a half of 1. So 3.5. Again, 3.5 years. All of this is the same thing. And this is how long that this wilderness is prepared for this woman and her place of safety. What verse?
Verse 15.
Go ahead.
And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman,
Yeah.
that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth.
Go ahead.
And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God.
Now
and
notice what it said, that the dragon, after they couldn't get to this wilderness, this place of safety, went back to make war with whoever was left from her seed. So what Revelation chapter 12 is basically doing is, say that?
The saints.
Yes, the saints. So what Revelation 12 is actually doing is showing you on a smaller scale what we've been looking at, which is Israel versus Satan, and Israel will be able to go to the wilderness for protection while Satan is coming after. But Satan is my man. He coming with Satan's spirit, this conqueror from Revelation chapter 6. Y'all follow me so far?
Yes.
Anybody lost? Hey, look, man, you can just do like they do at the auctions, like kind of, and I'll see you, and you know what I'm saying? But serious business. Okay, so, and the chapter is playing the way chapter 6 played, meaning it introduced one thing, then it gave some information, and then it introduced another. Same thing that Revelation 12 did. And this time what Revelation 12 was covering was, and we'll put that up here too, why not? Revelation 12 was really covering Israel, place of safety during this tribulation. Alright? So when people are going to be falling by the sword, people are going to be getting put in prison, they're going to get killed by fire. This is all during this great tribulation period. Which now, and don't worry, we're going to get more numbers, but now we see that this is 1,260 days. Alright, that's what this all is, 1,260 days. Okay? Y'all good?
Yes.
Alright, cool. Alright, so let's go back to Revelation chapter 7 now. Yup, this makes sense. So what we about to do now is we about to certify the protection of the church in the wilderness. That makes sense? Like, here's the thing, we need more than one witness to everything. So we're about to solidify that the Lord is going to protect people while this wrath is going on. So Revelation chapter 6, we were introduced to the two fighters. In this corner was the Antichrist. in this corner was Jesus Christ. Now, in between the two, the question was asked, how long will it be before you avenge your blood? So that's what we about to see. We about to see a showdown between the two. Now, before we get to the showdown, Revelation 7 is placed in there. No. You know what I'm saying? The protection. That's all. But that was good, though. I feel you. Revelation 7, and let's pick this up at verse 1.
And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth.
So he looking at something again. He see angels holding the 4 winds of the earth. Go ahead.
That the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads.
Nah, he's saying, look, before we get any wrath started on this earth, because remember, these are visions we looking at. John is being told, like, look, we're going to seal the servants of God in their foreheads. Now, don't get this confused with no mark of the beast, none of that. This is more in correlation to the blood of the Lamb that was on the doorpost when the death angel came through. That death angel couldn't touch nobody where that blood was, why it was bringing this ruckus. But don't worry, we're going to go back and look at some more stuff back there too. So he said, Revelation 7, said after these things I saw, after what thing? After I saw 6 of the seals. Then he was like, I saw these 4 angels, they was holding the 4 winds of heaven. They say, don't hurt nothing until we done seal who we going not hurt. Verse 4.
And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and they were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel.
Yeah.
Of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000.
Now, do not get caught up on numbers. Because if we get caught up on numbers, then what we are led to believe is that there will only be 12,000. Like, what if you like 12,000 number 1 of the tribe of Levi? But then you look over and you see the tribe of Simeon, and they still looking for 4 more people. Can you jump over that? Like it's what is being sealed? Oh, I turned the board around. Is the church. That's who being sealed. The 144,000 is just a representation of Israel, which was the same thing that woman was. So don't get caught up on the number, because we're going to learn in this chapter that more than just 144,000 of Israel are going to get saved in this chapter, or sealed. It started with Israel because everything starts with Israel. All right? So go ahead, let's jump down to verse 8.
Of the tribe of Zabulon were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Joseph were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Benjamin were sealed 12,000. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, and cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our God which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. And all the angels stood around about the throne, and about the elders and the 4 beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces, and worshipped God, saying, Amen. Blessing, and glory, and wisdom.
13.
And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which I arrayed in white robes?
So now the question is, who are these people? The mixed multitude and 144,000. Like, who are these people? Go ahead.
And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said,
Well, it ain't even really saying that the 144,000 was in the mixed multitude. It ain't saying, it's not saying that they're not. It's just saying a mixed multitude. Meaning that can include that. Well, it will. We're gonna see if it includes them. Go ahead, keep reading.
Thou knowest. And he said to me, These are they which came out of great tribulation.
Oh, so what we find is you got 140. We got Israel and a mixed multitude that made it out of great tribulation. That's what Revelation 7 is talking about. That before we kill anything, we gonna make sure that we preserve certain things on the earth, so that when we're done, it's still people here. Cause that's how bad it's gonna be when we start getting to where the peace is taken away or whatnot. What verse?
14 again.
All right, go ahead.
And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, These are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore are they before the throne of God, and serve him day and night in his temple. And he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them.
Go ahead.
They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat.
That's good. So all we did with Revelation 7 is go ahead and show you there's going to be people that make it through this great tribulation. Now, let's go down to Isaiah chapter 16. Go ahead, sis.
15.
Yeah.
And it says, and he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. So is that in the wilderness?
No. That would be once we get into the kingdom. Because notice, if when you read that chapter, verse 9, it was like, after this, behold, I saw a great multitude, whatever, right? Then verse 10, and cry with a loud voice, saying, salvation to our God will sit on the throne and unto the Lamb. Like, this happens afterward. So then he's looking at the vision, and he was like, well, who was these people that we saw? He was like, oh, they made it through the great tribulation. You know what I'm saying? But where are we right now? We all the way at the end. And these people that are arrayed in white robes, they made it through tribulation. Good question, good timing. And so what we getting from that is we're about to actually approach into the tribulation, and we are now understanding some people would not get hurt because they have been sealed, and we saw on the back end that, hey, it was a mixed multitude anyway that made it through great tribulation. But I'm about to bring you great tribulation. I, as a teacher, need to make sure you understand everybody doesn't get destroyed during great tribulation. Here go Revelation 7, and here's Isaiah 16 to help support that. So let's read this Isaiah 16. Ain't that where we're going there, Joe?
Yeah.
Isaiah 16. Isaiah 16. Uh-huh.
Did I miss the seventh seal?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
Nope, you didn't miss any seals. Nope. We stopped at the 6th seal. That's all we got to. The 7th seal we'll pick up when we get there. So no, we ain't got there yet.
So that's in chapter 8.
We'll get there. Yep. See, notice 6, no 7. Yep. So we're gonna get there. Before we get to the 7th seal, we clearing up everything else first. Yep. Good question. All right. Isaiah 16, pick it up at verse 1, 2, 3, and 4. When you get there, go ahead.
Send ye the Lamb to the ruler of the land, from Selah to the wilderness unto the mount of the daughter of Zion.
Uh-huh.
For it shall be that, as a wandering bird cast out of the nest, so the daughters of Moab shall be at the fords of Arnon.
Uh-huh.
Take counsel, execute judgment.
Yes, sir.
Make thy shadow as the night in the midst of the noonday.
Yes.
Hide the outcast.
Right.
Bewray not him that wandereth.
So he's telling you actually where this wilderness gonna be. He says, send ye the lamb to the ruler of the land from Selah to the wilderness, to the mount of the daughter of Zion. For it shall be that as a wandering bird cast out of the nest, so the daughters of Moab shall take fords of Arnon. Shall be at the fords of Arnon. Take counsel, execute judgment, make the shadow as the night in the midst of noonday. Hide the outcast. So what's going to happen is this wilderness is going to hide the church. Verse 4.
Let mine outcast dwell with thee,
Who?
Moab.
Right, that's where Moab going to be what? Go ahead.
Be thou a covert to them from the face of the spoiler.
Right, so he said Moab is going to be a covert for them against the space of the spoiler. The spoiler, or the face of the spoiler. The spoiler is the Antichrist. Go ahead.
For the extortioner is at an end.
Right.
The spoiler seizeth.
Yeah.
The oppressors are consumed out of the land.
Right. So all he really telling you is you safe in this wilderness, which is by Arnon and Moab. So that's like southeast of Jerusalem. It's the same wilderness that the children of Israel went in before. Let's go to Exodus. That's where we're going next. Exodus 10.
Yes.
All right. And it's because the Lord don't do nothing but be duplicating. Like he did it in the past to show you the future. Okay? So we're going to go to Exodus 10 and we're going to see quite a few things that parallel between what was in the past and what he's going to do. And then we're going to go back to Revelations and wrap him up. Like after we done with Exodus and Jeremiah, we're going to finish in Revelation and then we at the conclusion. So I guess we moved a little quicker than we did last week. Mm-hmm. But we still, we ain't moved that much quicker. Exodus chapter 10, and let's pick it up verse 1 through 14. When you get there, go ahead and read.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Go in unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart.
So we took it all the way back to the days of Pharaoh and Egypt and all that. Go ahead.
And the heart of his servants, that I might show these my signs before him, and that thou mayest tell in the ears of thy son and of thy son's son what things I have wrought in Egypt, and my signs which I have done among them, that ye may know how that I am the Lord. And Moses and Aaron came in unto Pharaoh, and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord God of of the Hebrews, How long wilt thou refuse to humble thyself before me? Let my people go, that they may serve me. Else, if thou refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow will I bring the locusts into thy coast, and they shall cover the face of the earth.
So what we're looking at is one of the plagues here. And he says, it's 10 plagues we know came through Egypt, and Moses kept coming after each plague. So now we at this particular plague of the locusts. And Pharaoh still won't let these people go. What verse we at?
Verse 5 again.
Go ahead.
And they shall cover the face of the earth, that one cannot be able to see the earth. And they shall eat the residue of that which is escaped, which remaineth unto you from the hail, and shall eat every tree which groweth for you out of the field.
Go ahead.
And they shall fill thy houses, and the houses of all thy servants, and the houses of all the Egyptians, which neither thy fathers nor thy fathers' fathers have seen, since the day that they were upon the earth unto his day. And he turned himself and went
No, you good.
out from Pharaoh.
Uh-huh.
And Pharaoh's servants said unto him, How long shall this man be a snare unto us? Let the men go, that they may serve the Lord their God.
Uh-huh.
Knowest thou not yet that Egypt is destroyed? And
So the people come and tell like, bro, please let them go. Don't you see? We just getting beat time on time again. Go ahead.
And Moses and Aaron were brought again unto Pharaoh, and he said unto them, Go, serve the Lord your God. But who are they that shall go? And Moses said, We will go with our young and with our old, with our sons and with our daughters, with our flocks and with our herds we will go. For we must hold a feast unto the Lord.
Keep reading.
And he said unto them, Let the Lord be so with you, as I will let you go, and your little ones. Look to it, for evil is before you. Not so. Go now, ye that are men, and serve the Lord, for that ye did desire. And they were driven out from Pharaoh's presence.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand over the land of Egypt for the locust, that they may come upon the land of Egypt, and eat every herb of the land, even all the hail hath left.
Mm-hmm.
And Moses stretched forth his rod over the land of Egypt, and the Lord brought an east wind upon the Lord all that day, and all that night, and when it was morning, the east wind brought the locusts.
Go ahead.
And the locusts went up over all the land of Egypt, and rested in all the coast of Egypt. Very grievous were they. Before them there were no such locusts as they, neither after them shall be such.
All right, so we just looking at the plagues here. I wanted to show you that particular plague. The locusts came through. It devastated and destroyed everything. Now let's jump down to verse 20.
But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart.
But that still didn't work. Right? He got rid of the locusts, but it still didn't work. Go ahead.
So that he would not let the children of Israel go.
Let's go look at the next one. This is my favorite plague. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt.
So it's dark. Now the thing that's so relevant about and why this is declared my favorite plague is because the Egyptians served the sun god. So what you about to do now is pitch black it on their God. You about to basically get rid of their God for 3 days and 3 nights. Go ahead.
And Moses stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all of the land of Egypt 3 days.
Yes.
They saw not one another. neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings.
That's why we read all of that. I wanted you to see the locusts. I wanted you to see that these was the plagues. But what I really wanted you to understand and grasp is that when the plagues was coming on Egypt, the children of Israel, ain't on this page, the children of Israel didn't get affected by it. Same as in Revelation chapter 7 when you saw, before you start plaguing the earth, don't mess with the children of Israel. And it was also a mixed multitude that came out of that. So again, in Egypt, it was pitch black where the Egyptians was, but in the hood, Goshen, where we stayed, we were partying in the sun. We was at the beach or something, right? Then, and again, in Revelation 7, he says, seal them so that they don't get affected by what's about by these four winds. So all I'm trying to get you to see is that there's a parallel between Exodus and 10 and Revelation 7. You know, it's the same thing going on, meaning he sealed them so when the angel came through, it didn't affect the children of Israel. Just like when we get to this great tribulation period. Now, let's look at one more thing, Jeremiah 30, and then we headed back to Revelation so we can start wrapping this up. Jeremiah 30, and we're going to read verse 1 through 10. Y'all still good? See, we got a couple of people that can't hang, I understand, you know what I mean? It's a long one, but like I say, it's being recorded, Lord willing, so if you missed something, you can get back to it, because we still ain't got to the trumpets yet. We done did all that just to cover the seals. Jeremiah 30, and pick it up at verse 1. Jeremiah 30 and 1. And when you get there, go ahead and read. Now, you got to understand that y'all going to be ready for next week, because we doing it all now. I'm sure Chris going to probably take you back to Joshua, a couple other things, but it ain't going to be nearly, when y'all come in here next week, it's going to be a quick show and tell and roll. You know what I mean? Y'all putting the work in this week. So, Jeremiah chapter 30, let's pick it up at verse 1. When you get there, go ahead.
The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus speaketh the Lord God of Israel, saying, Write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. For, lo, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel in Judah.
So he's saying, when he said, the days come when I will bring the captivity again, at the end of the day, the whole objective is to bring Israel back. That's why God is coming back. He's coming back to deliver Israel out of Egypt. According to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68, it said that Israel was going to go back into Egypt again on ships. So the Lord, in similar capacity, is delivering Israel again, like we Hebrew slaves. And the Lord coming back to deliver us again. It's just going to be on a much larger scale. He ain't just going down into Egypt. He coming all around the world to do this. I'm sorry? Second Exodus? Yes, yes. That's exactly what it would be. It will be that's the purpose. So again in Jeremiah 30, he like, for lo, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah, saith the Lord, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they should possess it. And these are the words which the Lord spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. Go ahead.
For thus saith the Lord, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness.
Go ahead.
Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it.
Right. So look, notice what it's calling the deliverance of Israel. Or the deliverance of their captivity is called the time of Jacob's trouble. But if you pay attention to what he's telling you, he's saying, but Israel or Jerusalem shall be delivered out of it. Israel shall be. And we saw, as we was in Exodus, as we was in Revelation 7, as we see in Israel being delivered out of this. But it's called the time of Jacob's trouble because it's the worst time ever. Like we saw in Matthew 24, it said, ain't never been a time this bad. Y'all see how we putting all the pieces together? Slowly. I know I'm slow, but we putting it all together, okay? Now, let's good with Jeremiah. Let's go back to Revelation. And now, young lady, What happened to her? That's why y'all she that. Talk about she was asking what we at number 7 because she ready to go, huh? Oh, it's all good. Okay. Well, now we're gonna get to Revelation chapter 8, and we're gonna go back into the seals, and we're gonna get seal number 7, and then it's gonna walk us into the trumpets and stuff. And really, at the end of the day, we wrapping it up, y'all. We wrapping it up. I'm just looking to see what I got left. Do I want to do Revelation 13? Do I even have it on here? Or did I take it off? Oh, it's on here.
It's next one.
That make it even longer. I don't know. We'll be alright. Yeah, we'll be alright. We'll be alright. So, Revelation chapter 8, and let's pick it up at verse 1. And when you get to Revelation 8 and 1, go ahead.
And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of a half an hour.
Go ahead.
And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets.
Alright, so when he opened up the 7th seal, it was really the trumpets. Alright. So we already basically the seals is 1 through 6. Number 7 is the trumpets. Now what we're gonna do is start walking into the trumpets. Go ahead.
And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hand.
Go ahead.
And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake.
Keep reading.
And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood.
Alright, so angel number 1. It said hail, and it said hail. This is the first trumpet. Hail and fire mingle with blood. Mingle with blood. Alright. Now, we're going to keep it up here, because what we're going to learn is that each one of these trumpets is going to open up a vial of wrath. So we're going to get to the vials of wrath, but first we're going to walk through the trumpets. And then before we finish, then we'll get to the vial of wrath, and we'll put it up here too. And that'll be it. Like, that's everything. The last trumpet, or the last vial of wrath, is the end. So that's what we're doing now. We're just walking it on through. So the first one was hail and fire mingled with blood. Go ahead.
And they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of trees was burnt up.
Okay, and so we burnt up a third part of the trees. Go ahead, keep reading.
And all green grass was burnt up.
Yeah.
And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood.
Third part of the sea became blood, which ain't the first time we seen water turn into blood. We saw that in Egypt. Third part of the sea became blood. Keep reading.
Verse 9. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died.
Yep.
And the third part of the ships were destroyed.
Yep.
And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood.
Yeah, so wormwood. We're just going to do that for number 3. Wormwood. Go ahead.
And many men died of the waters, because they were made bitter.
Many men died. Go ahead.
And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten. And
then
the third,
we got the fourth angel sounded, and it said, what it said, the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon. Go ahead.
And the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it.
That happened before it too. We just read that when we was in Exodus, that he made it pitch black. So what I'm trying to show you is we're going to end up paralleling these trumpets with those plagues. But most importantly, though, we're going to see that each vial of wrath is coming out with these two. This is what's going to be done during this time period, and then the vials of wrath is just showing you like who the architect is. But keep reading.
Verse 13.
Yep.
And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of 3 angels, which are yet to sound.
All right, cool. So trumpets number 1 through 4 we done covered. Remember, the 7th trumpet the 7th seal introduces the first trumpet. Okay? The 7th seal is the trumpet. Now we're at the trumpets. The first one, a third of the trees, hell and fire mingled with blood. A third part of the sea became bloody. Number 3 was wormwood, and many died. And number 4 was the third part of the sun and the moon smitten. Now, let's go to Revelation 13 next.
Yes.
All right. Revelation 13. Revelation 13. Yeah, man, we almost done. Revelation 13, and we're gonna not read all the chapter, and I'm gonna try to help a little bit as we go through it. So go ahead and start Revelation 13 and 1.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea.
So again, John is watching, looking at a vision. He's standing on the sand of the sea. Go ahead.
And saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns.
All right, now what he's doing in Revelation 13, and I'm going to just be nice enough to tell you, because what I'm about to do now is introduce his homies on earth. No, my bad. The red dragon, 7 heads, 7 crowns, Satan, his homies on earth. So what we're going to do, just in case anybody decides they want to take a picture, this is going to run out to Romans, not Romans, why I keep doing it because they Romans? Revelations 13. All right? And read verse 1 again.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea,
Yeah.
and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
So he got 7 heads and 10 horns. And what these 7 heads and 10 horns represent, this represents the kingdoms of Satan. So let's just say this equals Satan's kingdom. We leave it at that. Because remember, Satan said he can give the kingdoms of this world to anybody he chooses to. So these 7 heads and 10 horns, you really pull them out of Daniel. That's the key to it. And when you go to Daniel chapter 7 and chapter 8, you find this beast that we're going to keep looking at. Go ahead.
And upon his horns, 10 crowns.
Right.
And upon his heads, the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear.
So you had this beast, and he was a bear and a leopard. Go ahead.
And his mouth as the mouth of a lion.
And a lion. Go ahead.
And the dragon gave him his power.
And he got his power from the dragon, which we met the dragon in chapter 12. We in chapter 13 now. We really met the dragon before then. But we just had him in 12. Now he's in 13. He's the backing for what we're going to see is Satan's kingdom, or even better, now we get to put it in here, Rome. All right? This is who this is. Rome and her boss. That's what we're going to put up here, because we're going to see the boss later. Keep reading.
Dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
So the dragon going to give Rome, or the boss, the power, the seat, great authority. Who was the dragon again? We pulling them from Revelation chapter 12. It was the one that had the 7 horns and the 7 crowns, who took a third of the stars. It's the one that came against the church. That's who the dragon is. Go ahead, keep reading.
Verse 3, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death.
Nah, it said one of the heads of this beast was wounded to death. That's because when I was learning this in college, I was in college when I first started learning this. And I was taking world history. And we was dealing with feudalism and stuff. So we were definitely dealing with the Holy Roman Empire. That's who this really is. This is really the Holy Roman Empire. Holy Roman Empire. That's what that is, right? So the Holy Roman Empire has risen and fallen time and time. People like Charlemagne, Justinian, they done brought it back. Charles V. They all these people done brought the Roman. Like if you look them up, it said they ruled the Holy Roman Empire. All right, which is what these 7 heads is leading toward too as well. So ultimately, this here is Rome and its whole history bottled up in 7 heads and 10 horns. And you really gonna get the history of it from reading Daniel 7 and 11. Excuse me, Daniel chapter 7 and Daniel chapter 8. All right, so that's the key to really catch it.
That just brings to my mind when they say the G7 meeting, which is like the 7
Yeah,
nations, the
that's
G7.
crazy, right? Yeah, and that's crazy. We gonna talk about that later. Like we can talk about that, but later. But that's crazy what you do because it's and what's crazy about that is they be knowing what's in the Bible. They know if somebody. Let me tell you something. If somebody put 3 rings up like as an emblem, they know that them 3 rings is a representation of the Trinity. Anybody that's when you go to college and you take stuff like art history and art, like they make you take music history and art history, like they almost just make you take it. Well, when I went to college, when you take those classes, they teach you, like especially in art history, where these signs and sculptures and all this, they teach you that. So you can't tell me that you done designed a building now, or you done came up with a name now, and it just was random. Oh yeah, by the way, I'd like to call this 7 something. Like, no, ain't none of that.
Most of the designs are either in a pyramid or.
That's on purpose. That's on purpose. It's like when you walk into churches, it's 3 aisles. Like everything. There ain't no coincidence. What verse are we at?
We'll do 3 again.
Uh-huh.
And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death.
So Rome was wounded. That's what I was telling y'all. When I was in college, I asked my professor, I said, is Rome going to ever come back? No, I still remember. I still remember, no, Rome fell, blah, blah, blah. He historical, breaking it down. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting here listening like, you don't know the Bible. I ain't going to get into it too tough with you right now, but I'm learning something else. This Rome come back. Her deadly wound is healed. Go ahead, keep reading.
And all the world wandered after the beast.
Uh-huh.
Verse 4. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And the power was given unto him to continue 42 months.
Uh-oh, here go that 3.5 years again. So we saying 42 months was written down here. How long they gonna rule? How long? Rule 42 months. That's 3.5 years. Again. That's how you know we talking about the same thing. It just keep adding up. It just keep layering itself. And we keep putting more and more pieces onto it. Go ahead. Where we at?
Verse 6.
Uh-huh.
And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God,
Yep.
to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle.
Nah, I thought you said that was Rome. Remember, it's Rome and her boss. So it's Rome and it's the Antichrist. Rome is Rome is the country and the Antichrist is the boss. So this is what we're reading about. Go ahead. What verse?
Verse 6. And
Yep.
he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God,
Uh-huh.
to blaspheme his name and his
We
tabernacle.
saw some of that stuff in Daniel chapter 11 when it said that he was going to exalt himself above God and all that. Keep reading.
And them that dwell in heaven.
Uh-huh.
And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds, and tongues, and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world.
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
If any man have an ear, let him hear.
Go ahead.
He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. He is the patience and the faith of the saints.
Go ahead.
And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
Go ahead.
And he exercised it.
So like he said, behold, another beast coming out of the earth. So he's still looking. And he had 2 horns like a lamb because Jesus is the lamb. So he got 2 horns like a lamb, but he really spake as a dragon. Remember, Satan is the dragon. So like he just trying to show you, like, yo, you got this dude, and this the Antichrist. That's what he's talking about. That's the boss. Go ahead.
And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
Remember we read in Matthew 24 that it could be possible that the very elect could be deceived. Like, look what this guy is doing. He got skills. Keep reading.
And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast.
Yes.
Saying to them that dwell on the earth,
What you say?
that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live.
Mm-hmm.
And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast.
Right, so he gonna make some type of statue walk and talk. But none of this stuff is new. Like Nebuchadnezzar had a statue that he tried to make people bow down to. And it's the same thing, and you would think that's real prehistoric right there. You gonna have us bowing down to a statue. But shoot, these statues so big, it don't take much for you to bow. And they already easily grabbing people to come to them. Like, I'm telling you, as a matter of fact, I think one of the times I was leaving here, or was that in my neighborhood? No, I think one time I think it was in my neighborhood, where it was a statue outside the church, or one of these Catholic churches, and it's like, I'm pulling up. No, I was leaving here. And I'm pulling up, and I'm like, why everybody outside? It's just a statue. It's like just a regular old statue. I think this one was Mary or something. And I'm like, they gravitating to it, so it's not going to be difficult. But what we're going to find is that this man, this Antichrist, is going to make a beast, and he's going to say, you need to bow down to this image. You're going to give power to it. Then you might think people wouldn't do it, but you got to realize he's going to have control of everything. He's going to have control of your money. Remember we read that in Revelation 6? You know what I'm saying? He's going to be killing people. Yep. Oh, no, people going to do it, man. Trust me. It's just like taking that vaccine. People did it. Like, people went into it because they said so. It was like some people battled with it. Some people, they were just like, okay, that's what you tell us to do, then okay. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying it's not going to be difficult to get people to do anything. Because for the most part, most of us, we just do. We don't question none of that. You know what I'm saying? It's just like when they took the food stamps away. They nobody questioned that. They just took the card with a card at. You know what I'm talking about? You know, it used to be food stamps, used to be like paper, money. It was like its own form of money. Did nobody question that? When the money changed colors, did y'all get mad? Did nobody say nothing? Y'all know the money ain't green no more, right? It used to be green. So what I'm saying is when change happened, don't nobody care. Don't nobody say nothing. We just be like, okay, do whatever's next. And so we're going to bow down to the statue. Not us, but people are. Go ahead, where we at?
15.
Mm-hmm.
And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name.
Go ahead.
Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
Okay, that's good. That's 666. So that's where we get that from. We get 666 from there, and he's coming with that number. So this is where we get the 666 number from. That's in Revelation 13. So now we're going to go and pick up the rest of the trumpets. So let's go to Revelation chapter 9. Revelation chapter 9. And then from the trumpets, we're going to go to the seals. And then it's a wrap, y'all. Let's see if there's anything else missing. There go the trumpets. Then there go the seals. Then I think we are going to leave out Joel. So we're going to go right into the next trump. Yeah, so we almost done, y'all. All right, so let's go to Revelation, what we said?
Chapter 9.
Chapter 9, picking up at verse 1.
And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto
so now
the
we're picking up the fifth angel. So before we had the fourth angel, and after the fourth angel, what did they say, y'all? From this point on, only get rock. And it's like whoa, whoa, whoa. So that's what we about to look at now. We about to look at all these woes because the reason why we went to Revelation 13 is because what we're really doing, and this is why Joel was in here, is we are now putting the fight together. And we introduce the players. Hey, I need an old board. That Revelation 13 is one side. Matter of fact, I'm just going to refer to it over here. Revelation 13. I already know what this is going to be. All right? That's one army, which is Europe. We just say that, Europe. All right? And the beast. All right? This they army. Okay? And then in Revelation 6, actually, I mean the sixth trumpet is actually gonna be the Lord's army, which is why we got Joel in here. You know what I'm saying? Because we're gonna then they gonna meet up, and we're gonna go to Revelation 16 and show you when we get to the sixth, they're gonna meet up at the place called Armageddon. So this is the split here because this tell you what's happening 1, 2, 3, 4. But now we got armies, we got players. This was all the Antichrist. Now we got players. So go ahead and pick it up again, wherever you at. Tell me where you at.
Chapter 9, verse 1.
Uh-huh.
And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit.
Uh-huh.
And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth.
Dang, y'all remember them plagues? And we read one. One of them was the locusts. So this is what this fifth plague is too. The locusts. Really need room because this go with the thousand ride. We have room. Go ahead.
And unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads.
Y'all follow that. So in verse 4 he said, don't hurt, make sure you don't hurt the people who see it. We sealed them in chapter 7. They don't get hurt. Okay, keep reading.
Verse 5. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months.
Uh-huh.
And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion.
So he's not talking about the people that he sealed. He said everybody else. He was like, don't kill them. He said, we're going to torment them. And now we got time. We ain't had time in the whole lesson. We have. But not for none of these plagues or seals. So now we got 5 months. That's how long the fifth one is. So all of this sits inside of the Great Tribulation period. But for 5 months, we're going to at least have number 5. What verse?
6.
Said in those days and to them was it given that they should not kill them, but that they should torment 5 months. And their torment was as a torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. Go ahead.
And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it,
Yeah.
and shall desire to die,
Yeah.
and death shall flee from them.
Right.
And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle.
So even though it was locusts, this is the only way John could describe what he was seeing. They weren't animals that he saw. They were helicopters. And if you understand grasshoppers and helicopters, they move the same way. They sit and pop up. Planes don't pop up. Planes have to they need speed to get to a certain speed. Those things right there hit the air a certain way and it lifts the plane off the ground. Helicopters, they had that thing right there that's spinning immediately. It lifts it up off the ground. Thank you. Go ahead, keep reading.
And on their heads were as it were crowns like gold.
But these definitely ain't no gold plated locusts around here. Go ahead.
And their faces were as the faces of men.
Right.
And they had hair as the hair of women.
So long story short, and you can drop down to 11. Number 5 is basically the European army coming up. Go ahead.
13 or 11.
11.
And they had a king over them,
Yeah.
which is the angel of the bottomless pit. whose-
So notice we got that same king. It's called him the angel of bottomless pit here. This how we know this was Europe. King was angel from the bottomless pit. Go ahead.
whose name in Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, or Abaddon.
Yeah.
But in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon.
Mm-hmm. We was talking earlier with the kids about how the Lord makes sure that we got interpretations of these tongues in here. But go ahead.
Verse 12. One woe is past,
So you thought it was bad, it's about to get worse. Because here come that other army. Go ahead.
and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter.
Yeah.
And to the 6th angel sounded,
Yeah.
and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar which is before God, saying to the 6th angel which had the trumpet,
Yeah.
loose the 4 angels
Yeah.
which are bound in the great river Euphrates.
Right. So now he's saying, hey, loose them angels that's over there at the Euphrates. Go ahead.
And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month,
Uh-huh.
and a year, for to slay the third part of men.
Yeah. So
And-
you see here, the third part of men gonna get slayed again. Go ahead.
And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000.
And 200,000. Let me see. That's 200. Oh Lord. Oh man. Thousand. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you messing that number all up.
That's too many.
There we go. Let me just do the number. It's 200,000. That's what it is. There we go. 200 million. That's what it is. 200 million man army. So this is part. This hey, y'all should know who this is.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody army that big, but
China.
China and Russia. You know what I mean? That's even got that many people to have an army that big. That's the whole idea of it. Like that whole side of the world is way. You gotta understand that side of the world. It has a longer set of history with life. Like you know, think about what Europe did. Europe had these plagues that ran through there during the course of history. Europe moved a lot of people out, like America. All this would be considered Europe. Asia stayed intact the whole time. So, like, they just got a lot of people over there. And they like they kids too. They don't die, they multiply. You know what I mean? So that's they got so bad over there in Asia. They tell them folks don't have no more than 2 days.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying?
Big too.
Yeah, exactly. And all that is Asia. India, China, all the Japans, Koreans, all them. Thailand, all that stuff. Super overpopulated. Right. Exactly. So that's where this army coming from. What verse are we at?
Go
Go
to
ahead.
16 again.
Uh-huh.
And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. 17.
Go ahead.
And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these three was the third part of men killed,
Uh-huh.
by the fire
Yeah.
and by the smoke
Right.
and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths.
Yes.
For their power is in their mouth and in their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt.
Go ahead.
And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk.
Yep.
Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts.
All right. So that was plague or trumpet number 6. All right. Now we're gonna go to what we got next.
15.
Yep, chapter 15. And really, we don't even have to read all of chapter 15 because it ain't even about 15. It's about 16. But it's 15 is gonna kind of like open up the door to 16. So you can start reading at verse 1, and then we're gonna jump out of there and go into 16. And 16, we're gonna be back at the board because we're gonna be back at the vials of wrath, which parallel to the trumpets. Go ahead.
And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues.
Right, so he said, I saw another one in heaven. I got 7 angels. They got the 7 last plagues. Go ahead. So this is the same thing we were just on, but here it's calling them the 7 last plagues. This is the same thing as the trumpets. Go ahead.
For in them is filled up with the wrath of God.
Right.
And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of
So
God.
this was John saying some stuff, man. He got a whole bunch of people out there playing harps. Like, that's weird. You know what I'm saying? They standing on a sea of glass. Like, John had to be special to get to see all this. But notice how he's reverting back to something that we read already when he was like, yo, they had victory over the beast. That was in chapter 13. Over his mark. You know what I'm saying? So it's like each time you keep going, you need keys to open up the next door in order to understand the book of Revelation. All right, keep reading.
Verse 3.
Yes, sir.
And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous
Skip
are
down to 6.
And the 7 angels came out of the temple, having the 7 plagues, clothed in pure and white linen,
Yeah.
and having their breasts girded with golden girdles.
Go ahead.
And one of the 4 beasts gave unto the 7 angels 7 golden vials full of the wrath of God, who
Keep
liveth
reading.
forever and ever.
Go ahead.
And the temple was filled with smoke from the glory of God, and from his power, and no man was able to enter into the temple, till the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were fulfilled.
Keep going, chapter 16.
And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels,
What do you say?
Go your ways, and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth.
So that's what the plagues are called. Which the trumpets and the plagues are equal. We about to see it as we write them out. But they the vials of wrath too. All of it. When you see plagues, you can take it back to Egypt in your mind. When you see vials of wrath, you understand this is what the Lord is gonna do. And they equal the trumpets. So these are the trumpets. So we're gonna put the trumpets and the vials of wrath. I'm gonna put that up here just so you can see that it's all the same thing. Go ahead though, keep reading.
Verse 2.
Uh-huh.
And the first went and poured out his vials upon the earth.
Yeah.
And there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea.
All right,
and
okay, so hold on. We got the second angel, and it's saying, let me get my Bible. I ain't gonna let me keep up with you. Go back to verse 1.
Verse 1.
Yeah.
And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, Go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth.
Uh-huh.
And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth. And there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image.
All right, so the first one here is sores upon men. And notice, it's only those who had the mark, because everybody else should be safe right now. Go ahead, keep reading.
Verse 3. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea.
All right, so it said souls died in the sea. Souls died in the sea. I'm just trying to show you that, like, the trumpet was a third part of the sea became blood. Now, when you're looking at it, it's the souls died in the sea from the vials of wrath. Go ahead, though. Keep going.
And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers
Right.
and fountains of waters, and they became blood.
Yeah.
And I heard the angel of the waters say, Thou art righteous, O Lord, which art, and wast, and shalt be, because thou hast judged thus. For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and thou hast given them blood to drink.
So
For-
when you look at this, and the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers, verse 4, and fountains of water, and they became blood. So again, water to the blood. Water to the blood. Go ahead.
Verse 5 again. And I heard the angel of the waters say, Thou art righteous, O Lord, which art, and wast, and shalt be, because thou hast judged thus.
Keep going.
For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and thou hast given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. And I heard another out of the altar say, Even so, Lord God Almighty, true and righteous are thy judgments. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. And men were scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name of God, which hath power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory.
Go ahead, keep reading.
And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain, and blasphemed the God of heaven because of their pains and their sores, and repented not of their deeds.
All right, now check out number 6, because number 6 and number 7 going to take us home. Go ahead.
And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared.
So we seen Euphrates once before, and it said that the third man was slain. That's when you got your 200 million man army or whatever. So now it say the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the waters thereof was dried up, and the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. So the kings of the east, I know they drying up, but they ain't completely dry, but they drying, yeah. And the kings of the east is Russia. So we just gonna put Russia. Okay, I like that one. God and Magog, and that's who coming from the east, and they gonna meet somewhere. Keep reading. Go ahead, keep reading.
I lost my place. Okay. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the spirit of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of the great day of God Almighty. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame.
Keep reading.
And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon.
Okay, so now when we look at the sixth trumpet and what Armageddon is, it's basically, not basically, it's the fifth plague or trumpet, the European army, coming up to meet the Eastern or Russian army, or Gog and Magog, and the place where they're going to have a battle is Armageddon. So this is what, so when you look at trumpet number 5 and 6, it's the preparation of 2 armies to meet at Armageddon. That's all it simply is, okay? Now, let's get to number 7, the 7th vial of wrath. Go ahead.
And the 7th angel poured out his vial into the air.
Yeah.
And there came a great voice out of the temple of
What'd he say?
heaven from the throne, saying, It is done.
Right, so once we get to the 7th vial of wrath, it's a wrap. Ain't nothing else. Like, when I say ain't nothing else, oh, it is. But I'm saying, ain't nothing else that's going to be prior to the return of the king.
Right.
Ain't nothing else that's about to be prior than the resurrection. The 7th trumpet, or the 7th vial of wrath, is finished, is what I wrote here. Or we can write resurrection. So what we're not going to do, resurrection. Man, look here. We're not grading on spelling. All right, so what we're not going to do is read Joel. That'll keep it a little shorter. But we are going to, let's go to Revelation 11 now. We're going to pick up that 7th trump. And we're going to see how that 7th trump works with the 7th vial of wrath. And then really, once we're done with that, we done. This is it for today. Vials and the wrath. Just took a lot. But hopefully we simplified it enough to where you might not get it all. Don't expect for you to come back next week like, yeah, Brother JD did the lesson on vials of wrath. I'm up next. No. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, though, do understand that you should be able to piece it together better than you did before coming in here. And you're going to be able to piece it together the next time somebody talk about it. Just like you should be able to piece it together this time better than the last time I came and talked about it. 'Cause I'm sure I've talked about, maybe not in this way, but I'm sure we've discussed these things here before. And your understanding should be increasing. Okay? So, Revelation chapter 11. Ain't that where we at now?
Yes.
All right, let's have fun with it. Go ahead.
And there was given me a reed like unto a rod.
Yep.
And the angel stood, saying, Rise, and measure the temple of God.
Uh-oh, there we go again, temple of God. So, in Revelation 11, that's why we wrote this down at the very beginning. We started off dealing with the temple, and we're going to finish dealing with the temple. So, now we at the 3rd temple. All right? So, he's telling John, measure this 3rd temple. Go ahead.
Measure the temple of God,
Yeah.
and the altar,
Yeah.
and them that worship therein.
Yes.
But the court which is without the temple leave out,
Uh-huh.
and measure it not.
Yes.
For it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months.
Dang, we picked up some old 42 months again. This is how long the Gentile going to tread the city. But understand something. He said, measure the temple, leave it out. Now, why is he saying leave it out? Because the Dome of the Rock is where the temple's at. And the Muslims, no. You have to wipe out the whole Arab population off the planet before they gonna let you build something on top of their dome. I'm talking about, man, y'all think terrorists was bad. Before then, try knocking down that dome with a rock. They gonna have people walking up in the White House just bombed up. Like, we just blowing you up and everybody in the pathway. Like, don't play with them. You know what I'm saying? That's what the book say. Israel is a wild man, and they not playing about their stuff like that. So, any rate, so the Lord say, don't worry, we ain't gonna get, matter of fact, the Lord preserving the temple spot. Like, I don't even want the Antichrist sitting where I sat.
Right.
So he said, take the temple outside, take the area outside the temple. So if the temple is built like this, and then it's built like this, let's say this is the temple. He said, take this area right here. And so we're going to put that third temple. You know, just ideally. I'm sure you can Google it, whatever. You can see it much better. But ideally, leave the temple alone. And we're going to give it to you 42 months. It's going to be given to the time. It's going to be given to the Gentiles. Go ahead. What verse?
Verse 3.
Yes, sir.
And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses.
Now we got Aaron and Moses back in the day delivering us up out of Egypt. Now we got 2 witnesses all the way in the future. What I'm trying to get you to understand, if you really want to understand the way God is working, he does everything over and over again the same way. Which makes sense because it's the way his brain works. This is the right way to do it. The way he did it in Egypt, right way to do it. So then I'm going to do it again. Why change it? It only makes sense. This ain't a God that makes mistakes or errors. So if I did it once, then if I do it a second time, it should work. What verse?
Verse 3 again.
Yes, sir.
And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days.
Man, that's 1,260. That's 3.5 years. That's the great tribulation period that they're going to be prophesying. Go ahead.
Clothed in sackcloth.
Yes, sir.
These are the 2 olive trees, and the 2 candlesticks standing before the God of the earth.
That's how you find them somewhere else in the Bible, just so you know. Like you want to find them somewhere else, look for those 2 candlesticks. Go ahead.
And if any man will hurt them,
Yeah.
fire proceedeth out of their mouth.
These 2 witnesses going to have power too. Anybody try to hurt them, fire coming down out the sky on them. Don't play with them. Go ahead.
And devoureth their enemies.
Yes, sir.
And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed.
Uh-huh.
These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them.
Yeah. So now you seeing that these men gonna actually die when they done with their mission. It's gonna be at the end of the 3.5 years. And how do I know that? Don't worry, we're gonna all know it in a minute. Go ahead.
And their bodies shall lie in the street of the great city.
So these men was just out in the street for 3.5 days, like people was making a party like it was Christmas about it. Go ahead.
Which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt,
Yeah.
where